What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Who You Got with
MELO
and RADO is a sports podcast where we talk about your favorite sports debate, sports highlights, and the sports matchups of the week. And Happy New Year to everybody. Melo, Happy New Year. What's going on, man?
Happy New Year's, Happy New Year's. It is the first episode of 2022.
That's
And what
right.
can I say? We're blessed. We've been doing this for just under a year now, and we're a little bit over 30 episodes in. We got some faithful fans. We love the interaction. So I'm very blessed to be doing our first episode of 2022, especially since we started this just under a year ago, for sure.
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, yeah, like you said, we did 30 episodes already, and there's many more to come. Um, you know, it's been a hectic holidays. We've been trying to get together to do a few episodes, but we've obviously been busy with the family. Everyone really has. So
Of
it,
course,
but
and being sick. Everybody seemed to have gotten sick
everyone.
recently, including myself.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, at least now, like things are gonna be, getting back in action. We got playoffs coming up in the NFL, and obviously basketball is starting up. We still got some boxing UFC fights coming up. Today
Yep.
we're here to talk about the NFL, right?
Yes, sir. We are 1 week away from the playoffs. As we said the last couple weeks, we was going to get into more serious playoff contention games, and we are 1 week left. 1 week before the regular season ends, 1 week before the playoffs. So if there were games that had important standings before, none of them matter. Like this is the week. Like we are in crunch time. It is make it or break it for some teams. Last week, certain teams had to make a case, and some teams fell a little short. Now some of them are kicked out. Some of them have to win the next game. Some of them have to win with two teams losing. It's a very, very wild roundabout happening right now on teams trying to get into the playoff. And that's what we're here to talk about, man. 1 week left in the playoff, or 1 week left in the season, right before playoffs, and some teams are still fighting to get in, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is the first time in the NFL history that we've had a week 18 in a regular season.
Mhm.
So everything has kind of changed up. I mean, like you said, there was a lot of teams that definitely got out of the playoff contention last week, but I mean, the 18th week kind of made it so there's a lot of things that are moving around that 18th week. Like a lot of teams are going to be moving seeds, and there's some teams in the hunt still that are trying to get that final wildcard spot. And we're definitely going to talk about that today too.
Oh no, definitely. Last week we had a couple good games. Obviously, you know what we do. We talk about a few of the games we had the week before, some questions, some subjects, some hot topics, and obviously a week out of the playoffs, you know these topics are hot. And
Oh,
then
for
we're
sure.
gonna pick a couple games that got some real serious playoff contention. So why
Yep.
don't we just hop right into it and go into Week 17 recap?
Yep. Let's do it.
Perfect. First game I want to talk about. I know you probably want to talk about it, but I'll be honest, man. It wasn't the game it was supposed to be. I want to talk about Rams versus Ravens. 2019 win by the Rams and a comeback win by the Rams. Pretty much, they were down to a shorthanded Ravens team without pretty much Lamar Jackson with Tyler Huntley at the reins, and they pretty much only won by 1 point going into the fourth quarter. So that was obviously a win by the Rams. They won it, but that was not a good game for Stafford. What he had three turnovers, two
Yep.
interceptions, a forced fumble, um, 300 yards. But like for me, that's not that impressive because like he's a slinger. He's gonna throw on that type of offense. Um, Obviously he found a way to get the offense going, but when you have turnovers, and I think they got 14 points off of those turnovers, at that point it's not looking too good. Tyler Huntley didn't even have to do much. It was a kicking game. At the end of the day, the name or the person of the game wasn't even any big name on offense from either team. It was pretty much your boy Clark who got the two interceptions off of Stafford, and he's actually the one who got the only touchdown for the Ravens for the whole game. So it was pretty much a kicker's game for the Ravens, struggling offense. But literally, if it wasn't for a fourth quarter and last drive OBJ connection, that pretty much saved them the game. Because other than that, the OBJ literally only had 39 yards and one TD. So besides that last drive, he really honestly was useless for most of the game. But at the end of the day, that's what you have superstars for. You got big names like that. They came in the clutch when it counts. But 3 turnovers, sloppy first half, being down most of the game, and obviously almost losing to a Lamar-less Ravens team. It's not good news for the Rams going into Week 18. Like they won the game, but that was not a good win for them. I was not impressed. It's just obviously Cooper Kupp had a good game. Got, like I said, you got 300 yards from Stafford. He gave the ball to certain people. You know, Cooper Kupp had 74 yards, 95 yards, 74 yards of Sony Michelle. Obviously, Higbee had 70 yards. Jefferson had 63. Like I said, OBJ was kind of non-existent until that last drive. I think he only had like 15 to 20 yards before that. But that was a rough game to watch, honestly, when it comes to a fan standpoint, because like I said, Ravens was winning most of the game and they couldn't even score a touchdown on offense. So that's just the Rams defense did kind of all right. At the end of the day, they didn't let a touchdown, but they only gave up 19 points. But when your offense can barely put up 20 and they're supposed to be one of the most explosive offense in the league, that's not looking good for them. I mean, even if they did take back the division for this 1 week, it's not looking good to them going into a division matchup against the 49ers next week. So I don't know. I wasn't impressed with that game. Ravens did what they could, but Rams definitely got to figure something out real quick on that offensive side of the ball going into the last game of the season.
See, I'm gonna be honest. I'm feeling a little different about this game. I think I'm a little bit more impressed than you are by these Rams. Like, here's the thing. I totally agree with you. The first half they played terrible, and honestly, a lot of that we can attribute to Matt Stafford for sure. I mean, obviously, the first like I think third play of the game actually was a pick six. And obviously 7-0 right there. After that, the Ravens were able to bring it up to 10-0. And, obviously from then on, we're just playing from behind. So you're trying to throw the ball more. He was trying to throw it that same direction towards Cooper Kupp in the second quarter and got another pick and then another fumble on the next drive. So their first half was terrible. But him coming out in the second half, and my man had 220 yards in the second half, had like a 130 quarterback rating, they said, like during the game, and he had obviously the two comeback touchdowns. They were down by 14 points, coming down to it in the fourth quarter. It was 19-6, and then they came back two touchdown drives that they needed. Obviously, like you said, OBJ didn't have much in the game, but he had the most important plays in the game. It was a 4th and 10 that they needed.
The names that stepped up when they needed. That's what the Rams are going to give you, and that's why they can compete with anyone.
From him. I mean, he's definitely not Robert Woods, and we do need somebody like Robert Woods, a possession guy. I mean, Cooper Kupp has had to step it up, and he's been doing that all year. I think he's still going to be doing his thing. Obviously, we definitely need OBJ to step it up a little bit more, but what he got us great catches and great possession catches. Plus, that touchdown was sweet. Like he contorted his body to get that touchdown. There wasn't many seconds left on the clock left, so obviously, it was going to be a few more plays after that to get it, but he got it. So it was definitely good to see him getting a little bit more involved in the offense. Even if it was a few plays, he definitely got targeted more. He got targeted about 6 times this game. And Everett made a few good catches towards the third and fourth quarter, which was good for us. The one thing that I noticed about the Ravens, they couldn't have any sort of run game in the second half. That's why they were losing. Like the run game was terrible. They were getting like 1 yard, 3 yards a carry, and obviously just punting it back to us or getting close and getting a field goal here and there. But they weren't really playing a good offense, like you said. Like the only touchdown was a defensive touchdown, so it was all field goals after that, and for them, so they can't really do much without Lamar Jackson. You can see that.
But that's the thing with the Ravens. Even without Lamar, their quarterback always seems to be their leading rusher. Every time Huntley started, he also led the
even
team.
Huntley usually is. But Lamar's way better passer than Huntley, and he's able to at least plug those holes. Like Huntley, he can't get around as many. Like if there's 2 guys coming at him behind the line, I don't think he can get out as much as Lamar Jackson can. Lamar is so elusive. He's way more elusive than obviously anyone we ever seen, pretty much, other than maybe Patrick Mahomes possibly and Russell Wilson maybe, but like a guy like him is he doesn't compare like Huntley. He doesn't compare to Lamar Jackson, so I don't really want to put him in that category. He's a backup quarterback for a reason. So he did a decent job for what he needed to. Obviously, the Ravens are losing a lot this season. They lost the running backs. They've lost other receivers. Sammy Watkins came out this game against the Rams too. The only reason that I say I'm impressed by the Rams is seeing that second half showing by Matt Stafford. He was able to go back in the locker room and come back clear-headed. He didn't think about those turnovers at all, which he's that type of guy that he will throw like a pick six and then forget about it and throw like a touchdown. And he was able to get his 300 yards. Yeah, it might not seem impressive in the totality of the game because he had those 3 turnovers, but if you look at it from first half to a second half, it's like a 180 difference. Like he totally changed his game up and definitely impressed me on being able to come back from a pretty tough defense. I mean, the Ravens defense they're not scrubs. Like, they were able to hold us down for a reason, obviously. The Ravens their defense is the only reason that they're able to stay in these games right now, and they're able to keep these games close as much as they have been. Obviously, and Lamar Jackson, but even with him out, they've been able to stay in these games pretty close. So I'm definitely giving them some credit, but it's tough for them. Without Lamar, it doesn't look like they're going to make the playoffs. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, but like I said, I'm impressed by the Rams' second half showing, and that's about it. That's what I can say about that.
No, without Lamar, the Ravens can't accomplish much. Honestly,
Yeah.
They really. I felt like they had a problem where they had to rely on Lamar to do anything in the playoffs, which pretty much made them a one-dimensional team that don't allow them to succeed deep in the playoffs. Without Lamar,
it's over. It doesn't look like they have a slim chance to make the playoffs. So they would need a loss by both the Raiders and they would need a loss by Jacksonville would need to beat. Yeah, Jacksonville would need to win. I believe it is against the Chargers or whoever Jacksonville's playing. They would have to win, and that's a tough win. I believe it is against the Chargers or Raiders and Chargers are playing, and then Jacksonville is playing maybe New England. That might be what it is. I think that might be what it was. But anyways, it's like a basically less than 1% chance of them making the playoffs without Lamar Jackson. It is not looking like it. It's not looking like
playoffs with a Baltimore win, plus a Chargers loss, plus a Colts loss, plus Miami's loss or tie.
Jackson. Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and that's 4 things that need to happen. That is not looking like. Yeah, it's a very slim chance. Very slim chance. And if they do, are they even getting Lamar Jackson in 2 weeks? It doesn't look like that at all. It looks like he's probably going to go for surgery.
He's going to be good to get to a Super Bowl. No.
Yeah, it's tough because they were definitely my pick. AFC.
No good chemistry. You still got other injuries. You ain't established not 1 ounce of run game all season. At this point, it's a dub.
No, I agree. I mean, they were definitely my pick in the beginning of the season as a Super Bowl contender. Well, getting from the AFC into the Super Bowl, just knowing what Lamar Jackson could do. I mean, and even watching the season, they were in so many games, close in every game, pretty much. And I mean, once he went out, you just saw what they were like. It was pretty much, the reason why he was MVP. He's definitely a valuable player to that team. He's one of the most valuable players in that, in the NFL. Without just the award, just the most valuable player to a team, he's definitely one of the most.
Yeah, I remember like 2/3 into the season, they were a pretty good team, top of the division, and 2 of those losses was 4th down tries that could have went either way. So like they were very close to being like a top tier team before he went down. But still one dimensional. Lamar was doing everything. And it's like beginning of the season, his injuries started hitting, and it just became very clear that he was gonna have to do everything. And then unfortunately, he started getting injuries himself, and then that's the problem you have. Like what are you gonna do? But definitely, Rams. They came with the win. They needed that win. Top of the division again. They need another win this week. I mean, they'll still make the playoffs without a win, but basically, they want to stay on top of that division, not drop down to the bottom half of conference when it comes to playoffs. Pretty much, they in the NFC playoff standing is crucial right now when it comes to who you're facing in that first round, because I feel bad for whoever's facing the Cardinals the first round. You know, like that's if Cardinals will win a division, they're facing someone in the wild card, and that ain't about to be a fun game.
That's true. That's true. I mean, we definitely talk about who we think our sleepers are in the divisions later for sure.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next game. We'll go right to the other conference in the AFC and talk about two teams that just played each other. And honestly, it might be a good shot at facing each other again in the playoffs, since we're gonna talk about sleepers. We got the Chiefs versus the Bengals. What a dramatic game. 34-31 win by the Bengals. Another comeback down by 14 points. It seems to be the story this year. Mahomes and his subpar game. The wildest stat this game is, like, obviously, listen, Bengals came, they rallied past on the shoulders of Jamar Chase. He didn't put the team on his back. And Burrow threw 146 and 4 TDs, but 11 of those throws went to Lamar Chase for 3 TDs and 266 yards. Are you kidding me?
And wait a minute, he's a rookie.
They couldn't guard that man. Like, at this point, there's no way you don't convince me that after 150 yards, you're not triple teaming him. Why not?
I mean, honestly,
why not? Because after at 150 yards, they're still losing.
True.
Stop that man. Stop that man.
I saw a play where he was triple teamed in the middle, and he was able to outrun everybody and get that touchdown for 60 yards. So
that man's burned. That secondary was looking like child's play. Right now, he already broke the rookie record for most yards, 1,429. It was 1,400 by your boy Jefferson from the Vikings. So he already broke Justin's record, and he got one more game to go.
Yep.
His 266 was more than Mahomes had in passing at 259. That's the wildest stat ever. And the fact that Mahomes can only throw for 259, like, what's going on? The Bengals defense is not supposed to be that good. They had basically, if it wasn't for the running game, it wasn't for Williams scoring 2 touchdowns.
That's what I was gonna say. Williams,
never actually. He's the one that, for me, he's the one that won that game for them. You know what I'm saying? So another team, 1 week before the playoffs, snapped their 8-game winning streak, and two things look at. Mahomes once again had a subpar game. It's been happening a lot too often this season. And finally, giving up 34 points, breaking in the second half with a 14-point comeback. The Chiefs defense looked like the Chiefs defense.
Chiefs definitely look like the Chiefs defense.
Two things that don't bode well for the Chiefs heading to the playoff. Like, we was basically just talking about how they were hottest team in the NFL last week. Basically heading into the playoffs, besides the Colts, they were the hottest team. Oh no, besides the Patriots, it was the Colts who snapped their streak. Besides the Patriots, it looked like the Chiefs was about to win that first seed, and just because they lost against the Bengals, the Titans now sit at the number 1 seed in the AFC, pretty much about to get that bye. So they once again had it in their hands, let it slip away. So that does not look good. The Chiefs pretty much got one more game of the season, and they face Denver. So Denver's defense aren't scrubs.
Not at all. They got a good team this year too.
So that's another team that's see what they offer next week. But Chiefs lost. Bengals are looking pretty good. They're very volatile on offense. A lot of potential. And honestly, that defense should have never been able to hold Mahomes down like that. But at the end of the day, like, is it the defense or is it Mahomes? That's the real question. So we got to see what we got going up next week. That's where I was going to go with this, because I believe that
I've said this in the beginning of the season and last week when we were talking about it. I think that the Bengals are a top 5 defense. The players that they have, they might not like stand out like on the page like the Rams players do, like Jalen Ramsey or like Aaron Donald, but they got some boys. Oduzia, he's like a middle linebacker who's real nice. He gets like a lot of reps. I think he's actually first in tackles in NFL. I believe so. And they got a really good defense. Kirkpatrick's back there in their secondary. So they're getting guys, that are actually taking the ball away. And this game, especially, like, they definitely played decent against Patrick Mahomes. I just think that in this game, Chiefs were definitely trying to focus on the run more. They were trying to get their run back. Obviously, just getting Edwards-Helaire, him coming back, they needed him to start getting in a little bit. He didn't get in as much as Williams. Williams pretty much had 2 touchdowns this game. So
the injury, I think they need to put him on the bench for the rest of the year. It's over for him.
I think he's still be back and forth. I think he'll at least come back next week and try to get a little bit of reps. He needs the reps. Honestly, that's what you need at this point. You just need the reps because it's only a hamstring, so that's something that you can probably get rid of in 1 or 2 weeks. But I mean, like you said, that Bengals offense is potent. They're so potent. They got guys on their squad they're playmakers, man. They really are. And definitely got to give it up to Joe Burrow. He definitely made a lot of plays too. I mean, he was able to get out of some 4th down plays too in the 4th quarter when they were down by 14. There was 2 4th downs. There was a 4th down and 23 where they were able to get like a 30-yard play. And then there was another one, 4th and 7, where Jamar Chase was able to get like 11 yards right there and keep that drive. Once you keep that drive going, it's tough. It's pretty much it's tough to keep them stopped. Obviously, the Chiefs were able to bring the game back because they were down by 7, actually, the Chiefs, and they were able to tie the game up, but they just left too much clock at the end where Burrow was able to get that field goal. And Jamar Chase got another 20-yard pass in that last drive, which was crucial. I mean, he got 260. That's
that offense gets going. They get going.
They definitely do. But here's my issue, though. So they were playing in the Bengals Stadium. Bengals Stadium is definitely one of the loudest, just like the Chiefs Stadium. I definitely don't think this is one of the Chiefs' best games or best performances, but I do think I saw a lot of good from them. Obviously, if Patrick Mahomes, he plays a little bit better than he does in this game, or he doesn't leave them as much time on the clock, or they take it to overtime, they definitely had the momentum like in the last 5 minutes of the game. The Bengals really didn't have the momentum because they were able to come back from 14, but then Patrick Mahomes was able to get that final touchdown to tie it up. So the momentum was in the Chiefs' hands. I do think that if they were to play again in the playoffs, I think that a team like the Chiefs could definitely beat the Bengals again, even though they have so many playmakers. I just believe that the playmakers of KC, they're definitely starting to step up. You even saw this week, Tyreek Hill actually had a pretty decent game. He didn't have like obviously one of those crazy games, but he had a decent enough game. So they're definitely stepping up a little bit by little bit, and they're getting their players back. Their defense is stepping up in different scenarios, like in the red zone, they're stepping it up a little bit better. Obviously, this game, you didn't really see that because a lot of the plays that the Bengals do are pretty high powered. They're 30 yards and above. They have the most. I saw the stat that Joe Burrow has the most 10-yard plays, most 20-yard passes, the most 30-yard passes, 40-yard, and 50-yard passes.
Of course.
And that's a ridiculous. So that means that they're throwing it deep, like most of the time. So they're
making big plays. Other good receivers. Like he still got Higbee. You know what I'm saying? Like he still got decent receivers besides just your boy Chase. So he definitely not I said Higbee. I meant Higgins and Boyd. So he definitely got receivers.
You're right. So you're definitely right about that. You're definitely right. I mean, they definitely got a great squad, and a lot of them are unknowns. And I mean, I would say that they're definitely a tough team to beat. But I mean, at this moment in time, even though seeing this game, I just saw a few mistakes being made by Kansas City in the 4th quarter. Obviously, allowing 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter, you never want that. But if they're able to make 1 or 2 stops, that game goes very differently. And that's why I still think that the Kansas City Chiefs don't look that bad. That 8-game winning streak is definitely something that helped them out because now they're they're still in the game with a team like the Bengals, who everyone, even the beginning of the year, people were touting them. They went 6-0 in the beginning of the year, so they were definitely hot. And we'll see what happens with them. But I think that both of these teams are tough out.
Oh no, and that's the thing. Both of these teams are in the playoffs, so they have a very good chance of playing each other again. And that's what I loved about that matchup. That definitely has a possibility of being a matchup in the second round, for sure. Which is also why I love this third game we're gonna bring up coming back to the NFC preview of, or not preview, or recap of last week, which is another two teams that I have a very, very high. Like I think it's a very high possibility that they're gonna meet each other again next week. Not this week coming up, the last week. I mean next week in the wild card. So last game I want to talk about is Cardinals versus Cowboys.
Right.
Definitely think that they have a very good possibility of beating up in the first round of the playoffs. Right now, where they're standing in the conference. So that was a 25-22 win by the Cardinals. That was an absolutely wild game. Wild game, and like I said, more than likely a wild card matchup. It's just wild everywhere. Arizona pretty much got out to an early lead. They was able to kind of win the game. But what's interesting to me is they basically scored 3 points in the fourth quarter. Cowboys score 15.
Yeah.
Arizona wins by 3.
Mm.
So they basically broke in the fourth quarter, allowed the Cowboys to completely come back.
Mm-hmm.
And then last drive, able to get down the field and get a field goal. One thing about that game, Arizona obviously, they honestly, the defense kind of broke because at the end of the day, they broke through the air because there was no running game for the Cowboys this week. They were just abysmal on the floor. Zeke literally had 16 yards. Like they did nothing. So when you give up 15 points in the fourth quarter, they just gave that to Prescott, and he scored 3 touchdowns that game, and most of those came towards late end of the game. He was doing what he was supposed to do. So for me, the Cardinals defense looked a little worse than they should have, but the Cardinals offense, they're not as hot as they should be right now. You definitely see them missing D-Hop. Like you just see it. The rest of those receivers definitely are trying to step up. At this point, though, there's no one that's really that guy. Christian Kirk is seen to be a good option, but it feels like that's because the other two receivers are being guarded by top cornerbacks. So like he's obviously the slot, he's obviously the third, so he's just getting different more looks. But right now, Arizona needs to kind of, I don't want to say find their identity because they have an identity, but their identity has not been looking like it should be the last few weeks. And yeah, I understand you're missing DeAndre, but like, is it really like that? Like, I understand it's that bad, but like, is it that bad? Like, you're telling me the rest of the offense just kind of can't function anymore? So
I don't know, man.
we'll definitely see. It's definitely obviously a big hole in the offense. They need to try to get that running game going. Obviously, Edmonds had 53 yards, so it was a good showing, decent showing.
Right.
Like I said, they're kind of spreading the ball. Obviously, you're gonna get at least 2-3 receivers with 50 to 70 yards when it comes to the Cardinals. So
Right.
you're gonna get that. But for me, it was the lack of running game for the Cowboys is now becoming worrisome. And the story of the night was those costly penalties on a certain couple possessions that pretty much cost them that game. That's really what it came down to. You got a close game. You're down by 15. You come back. You pretty much lose by 3, and it just comes down to those penalties. And the run game. Obviously, you having a run game established all night, the whole game is easier. You don't need that 15-point comeback in the fourth. But obviously, if you still got to do what you got to do to come back, that's fine. But you can't give up those specific penalties on third and fourth downs, pretty much costing you drives. So yeah, so that's pretty much what that game gave us. 3-point game, tough contest. More than likely going to see each other in the first round of the playoff. I think it's going to be a fantastic matchup, and if I can say personally, I'm looking forward to this game again.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely an exciting matchup, and it was exciting for me even this week. Obviously, it didn't start out really strong. I mean, Cardinals started out pretty strong, but I mean, like you said, man, the penalties they hurt the Cowboys again, and this is not the first time this happened to them. They had like 14 penalties this week, which is ridiculous. I mean, it was for like over 160 yards worth of penalty yards. So this is the third game where they've had over 150 yards of penalties, and that hurts teams, especially in the secondary. You know, like those pass interference penalties, they hurt you. I mean, the Cowboys are known this year to have one of the most explosive cornerbacks, I guess, with getting interceptions, obviously, and Trayvon Diggs. You know, he's got 11 interceptions this year, so they definitely have that on the one side, but on the other side, it's not looking that good for them. And Arizona, even without the DeAndre Hopkins, I understand what you're saying. They're trying to get an identity though, because yeah, they had an identity that was definitely run through. It was a spread option. I mean, a spread offense. You know, they had five guys line or five wide receivers, or four wide receivers, one tight end, or three wideouts, one tight end, one running back. And that spread option, they were able to spread around everywhere. Obviously, they had the skills positions for that. You had D Hop, then you had obviously Christian Kirk taking that second position as the possession receiver, and then you had H.A. Green, who was that deep threat guy. And they just were able to pick up. This is one big key for me. They were able to pick up Zach Ertz in the middle of the season. So
Yes.
he started getting to the offense now more. And you saw him this game. He actually got like 60, 70 yards, I believe, this game. So he's definitely like starting to step up in this offense. And I think that they need him. They need him big. He's going to be one of those guys that you need in the playoffs, especially a possession guy that can get you, yards in the goal line or get you touchdowns in the goal line. He's definitely a type of guy you need. But I'm happy with what I saw with Arizona's running. Like, yeah, they're trying to get in Chase Edmonds back in there, and James Conner is still like a decent running back. He's still got a lot of touchdowns this year. Obviously, he doesn't have as many yards as you would like to see, yards per rush, but he's definitely got touchdowns. So when he gets into the goal line too, he's able to get it. As far as the Cowboys, I was disappointed in them. Like you said, their running game abysmal, really abysmal. And honestly, I wanted to ask you a question. I know we didn't even like talk about this at all, or even like talk about it. But what's going to happen with Ezekiel Elliott? I mean, Tony Pollard is looking way better than Ezekiel Elliott at this point. Like, what would you think is going to happen with Ezekiel next year? You think he's going to be on the Cowboys at this point?
Yeah. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. We have a bad habit in the NFL of owners not wanting to admit mistakes when they invest money into players.
So they're going to have to keep him, you think?
I don't know. They're gonna have to figure something out because at the end of the day, it's not like he's the worst runner. Like he still has he still has a skill set. Like I don't understand why he's not running like he should. He shows you flashes.
For 20 million,
the pay he gives you, he should be a lot more consistent. He used to be a lot more consistent, but it feels like a lot of these top tier running backs are losing something after their injuries. And it's expected. I get that, but that's also why, unfortunately, running backs weren't getting paid that amount of money because they get ran through 100 attempts.
That's true.
They get ran through like at least 100 to 130 attempts a season, and it's just their bodies getting hit.
But with Zeke, my issue was with Zeke. Like, if you remember, like the reason he got paid is because he's able to get so many running yards, and he's able to catch from the backfield. And the last year, I mean, especially this year, he hasn't been doing that at all. Like he's been.
I think they specifically also didn't want to injure.
I can see that. I mean, they don't want him to get him on the outside to get him on big hits. Yeah, you don't want to get big hits on him.
Them working in Pollard isn't them actually taking away from Zeke. It's them actually protecting their asset, giving him less of a workload.
It's taken away from Zeke though, because obviously for a running back, you need.
It does take away, but for them, I don't think they're doing it because they don't think he's that guy anymore. They're doing it because they know they got all this money invested in him. They're not going to force him through all that every year if he's already getting injured. They're going to try to keep him for the longevity and apply a running back as a backup. Because right now, I'll be honest, they're good 1-2 punch.
No, I will get that, but That's true, but I would definitely understand that if he was getting more carries than Pollard. Like some games, Pollard's getting more carries than Zeke. Like Pollard's getting like 12 carries, and then Zeke will get like 9 carries. So I could understand that if they were trying to protect him, they would have Pollard as a backup and giving him like 6 carries a game. But they're pretty much giving him at least half or more the workload, and they're seeing that.
They do. I seen them give. I seen them like straight switch off drives. But like I said, I think Pollard is implemented in the game plan quite hefty. And like I said, I don't think it's because they think that Zeke can't do it. It's because they don't want him to.
So yeah, so that sounds like you think they're going to keep him, and that makes sense. Honestly, that makes a lot of sense to me as well. The way that you explained it, for sure. And another thing, like,
was game like last year, it was almost all over.
oh, for sure. I mean, I agree. I agree that last year it was definitely a different story. But I agree with what you said. That GMs don't like to admit their mistakes, and especially a big mistake like this. We'll see what happens. But for the Cowboys, it's tough to see their running game just not produce what it needs to. Because I believe for the Cowboys to do good, they need a good running game, and their defense needs to step it up. And this week, both of those things didn't work out.
Not to mention, they're not trying to establish the run first either. They're trying to pass, which caused them to not get the running backs many attempts early on. Like Zeke had 9 attempts, and that's because they didn't establish the run early, and off rip they're already down.
Already down early.
So you're not about to get a run. You know what I'm saying? Like he only had 9 attempts. That's because they used to force feed Zeke down your throat a few years ago and let Dak do what he needs to do on third down situations and time management situations. The offense is now different, though. They're trying to make the offense Dak offense, trying to pass a little more. And obviously, you have an elite running back in the backfield. But this year, I think they switch a lot of things up when it comes to how they run that offense.
I agree. I just want to give one more thing. I want to make one more point about the coaching. Also, the Cowboys coaching. I mean, if you saw the last like 3 minutes of the game, timeout mismanagement. Oh, did you see how bad that was? And the last 3 minutes of the game, when the Cowboys, they had a chance to, to actually try to do something, and actually Arizona had the ball, and they were supposed to stop him on a third down. They were able to stop him, and he doesn't call a timeout. He lets the time run down to after the 2-minute warning, when there was a chance that if they call a timeout, there was able to be a challenge on a. It was a wide receiver catch. It was a 8-yard pass, but the ball hit the ground for Arizona, and obviously he didn't call the timeout, and he just let the time go to 2 minutes, and after that it would have had to come from upstairs, and it never came to challenge. So they missed out a slight opportunity there, the Cowboys, and they've had timeout issues all year, and they've been saying that that's one thing we're gonna have to look into in the playoffs as well.
And it's crazy because at this point, both their coordinators are being poached, or they're trying to be poached other head coaching jobs.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Kellen Moore's looking at.
So they both got great amount of skill set, and then the fact that you have both of them under an amazing head coach, it's just it's a great triangle you got going there. But it's crazy that they have heavily touted coaches, and you bring up the fact that they have a lot of mismanagement when it comes to time management and offense. That's a wild concept. You would think that that's something they would have down.
And it's not the first time. I mean, it's the third time this year that it's happened. That they had mismanaged timeouts, and I mean they've talked about it. They've like a lot of people have talked about this. That just the way that the coach does the last 2 minutes of the game, they don't think that he does it right. Because obviously they mismanaged it a few times, and they were able to win a game when they could have. Just happens though. Sometimes it's just the NFL, but sometimes when it's repetitive like that, that's when you have to look at it. And for the Cowboys, it's been a little bit repetitive.
Yeah, no, that's definitely wild. That's definitely wild to hear. Obviously, it was a wild game to begin with and to end with. Obviously, so that's just a lot of questions going into the playoffs for the Cowboys and the Cardinals. Where they stand in the playoffs, where they stand in their own division. For the Cardinals at least, and obviously what weapons they're gonna bring to the table when it comes down to put up or shut up. So that's definitely, like I said, a great game to pretty much end our week when it comes to recapping, and obviously a great game that I 100% think is going to end up happening again in 2 weeks.
We see that
Um,
happening.
Speaking of pretty much placement of divisions, there's two divisions who can pretty much still the division champs can still be determined on a lot of things that's happened on this last week, and I definitely want to talk about those. And it just so happened that we have one in each conference. Excuse me. So I'm gonna let you take away the first one, but first let me introduce the candidates basically, and we're gonna talk about the AFC East. Right now, we got two teams sitting tied for first place at the same record at 10-6, and that's the Bills and the Patriots. Crazy because the Patriots, the Bills is winning it all year. Basically, the division was theirs to lose. Hell, the whole conference was theirs to lose, and they
True.
lost both.
At one
They
point,
lost both.
they lost both.
Yeah. At the same time, the both was theirs to lose, and they lost both.
Yep.
So pretty much they're trying to save face. They pretty much even lost a game to the Patriots a few weeks ago, which made sure the Patriots were on top. Then they came back and then won their second game versus the Patriots, which put them back on top because of the tiebreaker in the division. So at this point, both of those teams are sitting at the same record. Obviously, both have one game left. The Bills are on top because of tiebreaker, but that's not nothing that's set in stone. The Patriots have a shot of winning that division.
True.
Not just as much as the Bills, obviously, but it's definitely a little
True.
bit. It's not a straight 50-50. Like for them, it is for the Bills versus the Patriots, but the percentage of them winning that division isn't a 50-50. So definitely
You
something.
got their matchups next week. Who they're matching up next week? You got how they're
Bills
each
are
going?
facing the Jets, which
Yep.
should pretty much be a win for them. Should be. But the Patriots are also facing another division rival and Dolphins, which should be a win for them as well. So that's the problem with both of these teams. They both should walk away with wins in the last season, which would also make them both end up at 11-6 with the same record. So who you got for AFC East champion?
So my thing is this. I mean, like you put it down very well, especially for the Bills. You laid it down very well what they've been doing all year. They were good in the beginning of the season, then they fell off. And that honestly started happening after that Tennessee game for me. They lost that Tennessee game handily, and Derrick Henry went off on him for like 250 yards. Obviously, he's not playing right now for the first seeded Tennessee Titans, but after that, obviously they were up and down. They were on a losing streak, and now they played the Patriots at home where they lost. It was a close game against the first game against the Patriots. They played them twice in 3 weeks, and they were able to beat them the second time. And I don't know. I mean, the way it looked to me, even in the first game against the Patriots, it looked like the Bills still could have won that game if they would have played a little bit better on offense. And you kind of saw on offense the past 2 weeks. You saw what they did against the Patriots. The Bills are looking kind of hot right now. They're on a little hot streak. And if I was to look at just the next two games, the Bills are playing the Jets, who honestly, that's a 100% win. You can say that. You can pretty much book it. All right, 99%. I can't say 100, but 99% win most likely.
And they would have put my boy Mike White in and go off for 400.
Oh, I know. Okay, let me not talk about Mike White now. I know that's future franchise right there, but let me not talk about him. I mean, he did go off on the Pats too, almost.
Exactly.
But anyways, the Pats are actually playing a little tougher defense in the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, their defense is top 10
Yeah,
this year. I think they're like top 6. I think they're top 6 defense. They were talking about them last week. But I mean, obviously the Miami offense is not really there with Tua. And obviously you saw what New England did last week. They put up a 50 spot, so they can put up points when they need to.
mm-hmm.
What I'm seeing a Bills team that's getting hot at the right moment. I'm seeing a Pats team that's still hot too. But right now, it's whoever wins their game next is going to be on top of that division. Or, sorry, not whoever wins, but the way that it's set up is Bills are above the Patriots right now because of the division record in the AFC. So even if both teams win, the Bills still would go, above them. And for that reason, I think they're going to win the division just because I do believe both teams are going to win. And I think the harder game is going to be the Patriots against Miami. I think they're going to have a tougher time. I still believe it's going to be a win for the Patriots. I just think it's going to be a tougher time for them. And for that reason, I got the Bills. What about you? Who you got on this one? Think Bills or Pats?
I know. Pretty much, just like you said, I got the Bills for the simple fact they're already above the Patriots, and both teams should walk away with wins. At a team or in a week that some teams are thinking about resting their starters, Patriots and Bills both are going to play their starters because they both want that division. The Bills not going to not start their starters to risk losing to give the Patriots back that division. So that's definitely not to happen. So either way, both teams are playing their starters. I expect both teams to walk away to win. The only Bills don't hold the division is if they lose and the Patriots win, which that's just probably the least chance scenario. So definitely definitely got the Bills winning the division as well. That's what I got for sure.
Yeah. I think it's going to be good for the Bills to win it. Them getting a division 2 times in a row. That they haven't done that in a long time.
Gave it up, man. They almost gave it up, and it's crazy because the Pats almost took it over, and the Bills are trying to save face right now. So it's crazy because that was not technically set in stone, but at this point, the person on top looked likely to win. But we know with the NFC, it's not. It's a little bit trickier.
That's true.
And you know a lot more about this than I do because these are your boys. So we got the NFC West. So once again, I'm gonna let you take this first, but let me, read off what we got. We got the Rams at 12-4 in first place, and we got the Cardinals at 11-5 in second. Both 100% are making the playoffs. But right now, that division is still up for grabs. It's crazy because it's kind of just like the AFC. Cardinals. The only difference is it's kind of the opposite. The Bills finally took the division back. The Cardinals actually was on top the whole year and finally just gave it up. So the Rams finally took the division, and at this point, they're a 1-game lead. They play the 49ers, division rival. Cardinals play Seattle. Truthfully, Cardinals have the better game in my opinion.
Yeah.
The 49ers are probably not going to be like the Rams and the 49ers are going to be a matchup. And that's not going to be an easy win for the Rams. So there's a lot of scenarios. Like I said, even in Seattle, Cardinals ain't going to walk away with a win either. They could probably go out there and blow Seattle out, but those games usually don't end in blowouts. Like it's the last week of the season. We're talking about divisional games. So at this point, if Rams win, Cardinals lose. Rams take the division. If Rams win and Cardinals win, Rams take the division.
Right.
If Rams lose, Cardinals win, Cardinals take the division.
Right.
And if Rams lose and Cardinals lose,
we still take
Rams take the division.
Still take it. Yeah. Right.
So NFC West champion, who you got?
I mean, people might say I'm biased or something.
I wonder who you're gonna pick.
I'm taking my Rams. Like, who you think I'm picking? I'm taking my Rams, but nah. You said it right. I mean, the Cardinals were looking hot all season. Obviously, they started out 10-0 for a reason. And even the first time that they played us, they beat us. They beat us handily, and they had obviously everyone up there. DeAndre Hopkins was there. J.J. Watt was there. Those 2 guys are not there for the Cardinals anymore, and it doesn't look like they're going to be coming back at all this season. Those 2 guys, they got Chase Edmonds back as a running back, but I mean, it's definitely a big loss. Now, on the other side with the Rams, we were definitely hot, pretty much. We were hot up until the last 5 games. We had a 3-game losing skid, and then we just finally were able to win our last 2. So we're definitely coming back, and we're looking better now. We lost one of our best assets in Robert Woods. He was definitely a huge asset for us. We need him as our second receiver. We tried to plug, obviously, Odell Beckham. He's not the same style receiver there, but I think he should work handily. Hopefully for the playoffs, he'll do what he needs to, like what he's been doing, getting receptions when we need him most. Honestly, that's what we need, a guy that we can trust, especially in the fourth quarter and towards the end of the game. So I'm definitely happy about that. Another thing I'm happy about is Henderson, our running back, is starting to look a little bit better. Even in the game against the Ravens, he was looking a little bit better. So honestly, the way that I saw the second game against Arizona and the Rams handily beat Arizona, and it just looked like a totally different game. The way Arizona set up to play, they're missing something right now. Even against Dallas, it just looked like they were just missing just that one key piece. Like you said, Christian Kirk couldn't do it by himself because he's not a number one receiver. Everyone has to step it up. Christian's got to be a number one now. AJ Green's got to be number two, and Zach Ertz pretty much got to play like a third receiver down the middle. It's going to be tough for them, honestly, for me. Yeah, they got a lot of talent, but as far as putting up the same number of points they were putting up in the beginning of the season, the first 10 games, I think they were putting up like 36 points as an average, which is ridiculous for an NFL team. Right now, the way that it's looking, our Rams offense definitely took a hit after Robert Woods as well. So we're trying to find other ways to compensate with run pass options. And that's why I think playing against a team like the 49ers is going to be a learning curve into doing those run pass options for the playoffs. A team like the 49ers, they got a good defense and they got great interior defense in the middle. And that's a good thing for us to practice on. I definitely think that we're going to win this game. I do believe that the 49ers are a good, tough team. And I actually got this game as a 6-point game, honestly. I got us only winning 27-21. So it's definitely going to be a tough one. I just think that in the end, we'll probably get it. As far as the Cardinals, I do think they're going to win their game as well. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I think that game is probably going to be somewhere like 17-14. It's going to be more defensive battle for me.
Yeah.
And honestly, it looks like the same way with the NFC East. Both teams are going to win. And just the way that it's set up right now, I think that the Rams just take it just because we still have the better record if both teams win. What about you, though?
Obviously, like I read it out, there's 4 scenarios that can go down with each team either winning or losing, and pretty much only one of those scenarios, the Cardinals walk away with that division, and they have to win and the Rams have to lose, and I don't see that happening. Now here's the thing, I don't see it happening, but it's a lot more likely that happens than the Patriots taking the AFC East. Because the Bills would have to lose. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see the 49ers and the Seattle both coming out with a better chance of winning those games than the Jets.
I totally agree with that.
So, I could sit here and say, I don't see the Rams losing. I don't see the Cardinals winning. I don't see both of those happening to make the Cardinals top the Rams. But I could wake up Monday morning and just be like, oh, well, I guess Rams are in fifth place. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it could very well happen. Those are going to be very tough matchups, but I'm going to have to go with the Rams. They're not only in first place, but by a game. Because here's the thing, actually. Yeah, because if the Rams lose, the Cardinals will take the division and they'll hop into second place in the conference.
True.
So I was trying to think if they both have the same record, who's in first, it's going to be the Cardinals because of the division wins. It helps going 10-0 in the first half of the season. Right? It helps when you beat some of the teams in your division. So, so they can definitely still take the division with the same record as the Rams for sure. So we just got to see. But like you said, for both picks, AFC East and NFC West, we got the leader and the current division champs keeping the title. We basically got everyone winning their game and just keeps everyone where they're at, basically.
Yeah. True.
Sounds good. But, man, it's usually, honestly, the Cowboys division right now. It's usually them that's fighting. Yeah, they took it very early. I'll be honest, I'm 135% surprised the Eagles somehow made the playoffs. Like, I'm talking about they're a game out in the playoffs and they already clinched. Like, that's wild. Wow. That's wild to me. They did not look that good to start off with. A lot of people wrote them off very early, especially being in the Cowboys division. I'll be honest, in that division, no one has cared about the other three teams.
I think there's still a chance that Minnesota, if they still have a chance to overtake them, don't they? Minnesota?
They clinched playoffs.
They clinched. I thought
the Eagles clinched playoffs.
Lost.
No, Let me double check right now.
Yeah, because if that's the case, that's good for them. Doug Peterson is a good guess.
And that's what I'm saying. Like they didn't clinch the division, but just like the Rams and the Cardinals, they don't have to win the divisions, but they're 100% in the playoffs. The Eagles are 100% in the playoffs.
Basically, wild card spot.
To go in there is 49ers. Basically, is the only one in the top 6 who can lose their spot to someone like the Saints or the Vikings.
Or Vikings. Okay, so
49ers are the ones who need to win to keep their spot. Everyone else basically is already set in stone. 49ers is the only one that has a chance of losing their spot right now.
Yeah, and it looks like they might. I mean, the way that I got that game against the Rams, it looks like they might.
Of course, you got 49ers losing. Of course you do. Either way, that's going to be a hell of a game right now. But we got time. You know us. We're going to talk about those games in a few. But I got a few more questions, man. Let's talk about a few more hot topics as we go into the playoffs.
Speaking of the 49ers, since we were talking about since we've been talking about 49ers real quick, I had this question, that we have on the who we got, obviously Jimmy Garoppolo, he was starting all season pretty much, but last week, as you saw, they just stated that, Trey Lance, he's going to be starting the rest of the season. And since after that, next season, nobody knows. But what they did say is that he's the starting quarterback next season, at least for now. Now, my question is, do you see him as a starting quarterback for the 49ers next season? Because it doesn't look like Jimmy is going to be.
So there's a lot of factors that goes into that. And I'm just going to pretty much go off of them before I give you the actual answer. So first off, Trey Lance is not better than Jimmy G.
Wow, that's a big statement.
No, he's 100% not better, but he has a different skill set.
Right.
He has a different type of arm. He's a little bit more accurate and can force the ball a little deeper than Jimmy has been known to. And obviously, he's a little bit more mobile than Jimmy. He already proved that he can use his legs a little bit. So right off the jump, he's not better. He's different. It depends on who's running that offense, on who they like. Right. 2, they gave up a lot after paying Jimmy to move up. I think it was 3 picks to skip people like Justin Fields to get Trey Lance. And I love to say these GMs and these owners hate admitting to mistakes. There was already turmoil in the organization that people didn't even want Trey Lance. They wanted Justin Fields.
True.
But it seems there's some people in there who wear some big suits and some nice ties who really want Trey Lance to be that guy. I don't know why. You already have Jimmy G under a good contract. There was a lot of under needs that you had to fill when it came to that draft. A lot of people were confused at why they went up to go get Trey. Which makes me think, all right, they got Trey, they have their eye on him, somebody wants to make him, that next guy. So, either way, we're looking at a run first team.
For sure. That's what they're going to be. Defensive team.
And a defensive team.
They got John Lynch as the GM, so they're defensive known, obviously he's a defensive guy.
They're going to run it down your throat, play good defense. They want a quarterback who's a good game manager. With all that being said, I think they're going to move on from Jimmy G because of how much money he costs. Yeah. And for them, I don't want to say they don't need. I don't think that they don't think they need to invest that much money into a quarterback who's going to be secondary to the run.
Right. I can see what you're saying.
They already gave picks for him. They already invested in him. Granted, they put him out there and he looked like trash. He's clearly shown that while he actually has potential, obviously, he's nowhere near ready to handle NFL defenses. He's shown that. So that's what I'm saying. You're not going to sit here and convince me that as of right now, he's better than Jimmy. No.
Right.
They got one more game, obviously, against the Rams.
But what about the skill set? Is the skill set better than Jimmy?
No, it's different.
Okay.
It's different. He offers something Jimmy can't offer. Like, he can get you.
Is his potential better than Jimmy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 100%, because he has, like, Jimmy don't got a deep throw.
Like his
ceiling.
I don't know why. Like Trey Lance is better
like,
than
30 yards, like, yeah. And even then, 30 is kind of pushing it. So that's why it's hard for him to spread the numbers on that field, because you know he can't pinpoint it in those certain pockets where you need him to. Trey, while inaccurate, has the arm to reach those pockets.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? He isn't there yet. But he showed you, like, bro, like, come on, those first couple showings was horrendous because he did not know what he was doing.
They were bad.
Now he's showing you little spurts, but like I said, they're gonna go with him because they're gonna move Jimmy. They're gonna move into, like, come on, someone like the Browns or Steelers, literally teams like that. They're gonna try to get Jimmy. They're gonna try to build that line, especially now that they got Deebo Samuel too. Like, he's a potential dual threat. They're gonna focus on that defense again and focus on that run and let Trey rock. Do I think that's the best choice for them? No.
Right.
But do I think that's what they're gonna do? Yes.
Okay.
So I think they want to get rid of that money that Jimmy's holding up because they don't see him needing all that. They don't see a quarterback on their team needing all that because they're gonna try to run it anyways and try to run some type of offense like that and focus on their defense. So I do think that next year Trey Lance will be starting for the 49ers. But here's my thing, and here's what I want you and I want the listeners to be paying attention to. A lot of that comes down to this week.
Right, that's what I was going to go with this real quick.
If anything over 75% and they decide to start him instead of Trey, that lets you know he's still their guy.
But here's the thing, though. I think they already stated that Trey Lance is going to be starting that final week. Like, no matter what, they're going to start him. So
they didn't.
They didn't say they would. I mean, he started last.
So they said if Jimmy G is not 100%, they're not going to put him in. No. Right. So here's how it went. Kyle said if Jimmy's 100%, he's playing. He's our starting quarterback.
100%.
But then follow that statement with, I don't think he's going to get 100% by.
So basically, he's going to play.
So basically, Trey Lance is looking like he's going to get the start. But my whole thing, if Jimmy comes out there and shows that he's ready to play, and they start it, like, you know what I'm saying? It's not 100% that he's not about to start. So we got to see. But yeah, I think they're gonna move on from Jimmy. I think so.
Yeah, for me, if Jimmy starts, even if Jimmy starts, I think that's just for him. That's just an audition for the next team. Honestly, he's gonna just have an audition. Now, for me, it's interesting if Trey Lance starts. And I mean, I don't want to wish this, or I don't want to even think about this, but let's say somehow, some way, he beats the Rams. Oof, man, he makes the playoffs. And I mean, you never know what any team can do. Any team has won as a 6-7 team.
He's starting the rest of the season.
Oh, for sure. And that's my thing. And for sure, they're going to have him as a starter next season. But I definitely have a caveat to this. I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think they're going to move on from Jimmy G. I think his time in San Fran is done. I think they don't want to pay that much for a quarterback, except here's my thing. There's one quarterback that could possibly be moving on from his team, and that's Aaron Rodgers. And we don't know where he's going. But a team like the 49ers would be perfect for Aaron Rodgers. First of all, he went to college out there, didn't he? He's from California, Fresno.
So who doesn't want to retire in a warm state?
And they got a great offense right now. They got Brandon Ayuk, they got Deebo Samuel, they got Kittle. So obviously they're trying to get their defense better, but they got a great offense. For somebody like Aaron Rodgers will be perfect for the 49ers. That's my only caveat. If it's not Aaron Rodgers in 2022 starting in September, then it's definitely going to be Trey Lance. And that's because I do think Jimmy G is going somewhere else. I think they're going to either trade him
could be
or
better
let
for
him
him to go somewhere else. Honestly, I think he's not set up in the right scheme right now.
go. I agree. I
That's
totally agree with
why I threw out Browns or Steelers because both of them already have offensive weapons and run game set up for a quarterback like Jimmy G.
I've been saying the Browns all season. I think Jimmy G's going to the Browns. That's what I've been saying all season, and that's where I think he's going.
And they automatically become playoff contenders.
I mean, it's going to be tough with that division, the way that division is.
But think
It's
about
tough.
it. If he goes to the Browns, the only one you have to worry about is Ravens and Bengals because Steelers ain't,
It's two teams, though.
and that is, but they have the best defense set up in that division. So if you give someone like Nick Chubb and that offensive weapons, Jimmy G, they looking good. They'll be the favorites for sure. 'Cause at the end of the day, you're not gonna tell me the Ravens are the favorites because
No,
even
I
with
would say Bengals. I would think the Bengals would be the favorites. Yeah, I think the Bengals would be favorites.
depending on how they play the rest of the season, because if they choke next week and they choke in the playoffs, and they're gonna have that ceiling or that cap on, So we'll see. But if coming
But
into a fresh
speculation,
season,
but I definitely agree with you. I think Trey Lance is probably going to be starting next season for the 49ers if it's not Aaron Rodgers.
yeah, no, I like that Aaron Rodgers take because that'll be a perfect spot for him.
I
So
think
we'll
so.
but like I said, we got a lot of chance to see what these teams do in the playoffs. Like I said, the Bengals could have a chance of just kind of folding. There's a lot of teams that the playoff contention is there, but at the end of the day, how far can they go and how far will they go? So I
Right.
definitely want to talk about some of those teams in regards to that. So the first question I want to ask you is about the Tennessee Titans.
Right.
How far can, and that's the key word, can. How far can the Titans go in the playoffs? Now, there's a lot of different factors. You got Derrick Henry, clearly the best running back in the league. So right now, they just overtook first place. They are pretty much one game away from the first round bye.
Right.
And they get a break and they don't have to play that first week. Pretty much only thing they have to do is get that bye. And from what the rumors sound like, they go into that second week of the playoffs with
Derrick
Derrick
Henry.
back at the helm.
Yep.
That's just a lot. Like that's a lot.
That's
That's a
wild.
lot. They were already pretty much really fucking good with Derrick Henry before
Yep.
he went down. And then truthfully, they turned out to be a lot better than expected when Derrick Henry went down.
True.
They were 5-3 after Henry went down, and a lot of that was their offensive finding a run by committee. Pretty much 2 to 3 running backs that found a way to get the game going. Tannehill found a way to manage the game he needs to manage. But the biggest thing was that defense and how much they stepped up.
Yes, exactly.
That defense stepped up big time in those 7 weeks and in those 8 weeks. And honestly, they had clutch wins over good teams. And I think one of those wins was even over the Rams. Like I'm pretty sure they beat y'all without Derrick Henry.
Yep.
Yeah. So they just been showing out. So you got a team that's honestly, I don't want to say hot, but like, hey, people wrote them off when he came down. They went 5-3 and now sitting at first seed in the AFC. You can't write them off. Now they're about to get him back. Their identity never changed. They kept running the ball. They just found different players to run the ball.
Right.
So it's not like they had to try to find a whole new identity and build themselves. And now he's going to come back and ruin all that. Like that's not what's going to happen. So here's what I like about the Titans. I'm gonna read off some stats and pretty much yes, Derrick Henry helps skew these stats in the beginning of the season. But here's where they stand in the end of the season. Their offensive rank is 7th. They're 4th in plays. They're 3rd in rush yards. 1st in rushing TD. 6th in defensive points. So then when I mind move the defense, I told you defense stepped up. 2nd in defensive rush yards. Their run defense is prolific this year. 9th in interceptions. 9th in sacks. And pretty much their turnovers is top 3. Titans are playing great on both sides of the ball. Obviously, defense is playing just a little better. Now you're telling me they're going to get Derrick Henry back. Now, first round, they get to bye. Second round, Bills, Pats, Bengals, or Colts, Chargers, Raiders, depending on how all that play out in the next week. Bills, Pats, Bengals are the three top teams that they probably have to worry about out of those six. I think they could beat them, all three of those teams in the first round. With Derrick Henry back, you were never going to convince me that the Bills can beat Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry playing. You won't. I promise you won't. Derrick Henry coming back after first week after a bye in the playoffs facing the Bills, 227 yards. Just give it to him. Literally, he's gonna run all over them. So I got them beating the Bills. I think it's a tougher matchup against the Pats. But if you're telling me you and Derrick Henry are gonna go into a rushing battle, I'm gonna pick King Henry. So I really think that they have a good shot at beating whoever they face in that first round, which then puts them to maybe Bills or Pats versus the Chiefs. Those will probably be the top 2 to 3 teams standing in the AFC Championship. Can they beat the Chiefs at their best? Can they beat the, I think depending on if and when they have to face the Chiefs, that will be their biggest matchup.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of the Bills versus the Titans. I'm sorry to say that. That's not a matchup I'm scared of. They seem to got their number for the last 3 fucking years. So I think that the Titans can get to the AFC Championship game. That's when they'll probably face the Chiefs. Hey, I'm not saying they win. I'm not saying they lose. But that's the best spot to be in at that point. That's a really good spot to be in because you're not going to write off the Titans and just say the Chiefs are walking through.
I mean, that was last year's AFC Championship game, so, right? Or 2 years ago, actually, right? That was 2 years ago.
And the Titans are looking a lot better. So, and the Chiefs are looking a little more human. So at this point, who knows? So at this point, I give them the AFC Championship easily. That's how far I think they can go. AFC Championship, for sure.
That's how far I think they can go. Okay.
That's how far I think they can go. I mean, even with them setting number 1, I'm not going to say they're Super Bowl, pick for the AFC. I can't do that to them.
Even with them number 1.
Even with them at the 1, just the fact that we don't know more about it from Henry, I have to see something before I say they're going to the Super Bowl.
That's my thing. I don't know from Henry, and plus, I'm not even sure if we're gonna get him back that first week. Like, they're talking about him coming back that first week, but we don't know that yet. I mean,
that's why I still think they could win that first week without him, depending on who that matchup is against.
For me, it's all
AFC Championship. So that's how far I think they can go. I think they can make it back to the AFC Championship.
So I think I agree with you. I think that they can definitely beat a team like the Bills. I think it'll be a tougher team like the Patriots for them to play, but I think they still match up pretty good against the Patriots. It'll be a defensive battle. Obviously, the guys know each other. Vrabel definitely knows Belichick, so obviously it's some history there. They're both like a similar type of team, the Patriots and the Titans, the way that I see them constructed, with a game manager kind of leading the thing. Obviously, you got a better running back in the Titans, but now they've had to kind of do it by committee, kind of like what the Patriots have been doing all season. So you're kind of definitely seeing similarities. And like for me, it's just like you. It all comes down to matchups. If the Titans, let's say they do get the bye, because that's the way it really is looking. I don't see them really losing next week. I believe they're playing the Jags, right? They're the ones that have to play the Jags. So I don't think that they're going to lose. So they're probably going to keep that number 1 seed, barring anything crazy. So let's say they only have to win 1 game to get to the AFC Championship game. A team like the Bills and the Patriots, I think they could beat. Now, a team like the Bengals, who starts out early hot, like them, I don't know. Especially like even if you got Derrick Henry, but what happens if you're down 14-0 in the first quarter? You're going to be using Henry like that? Or are you going to be trying to like throw the ball? And the way that Tannehill's been playing, obviously they don't have Julio Jones right now. He's been out injured. AJ Brown hasn't been really doing what he needs to. Like he was one of the best receivers last year. This year he's been on and off. Last week he only got like 30 yards, up to like 40 yards, I think. and he hasn't been really stepping it up. So it's tough for me to say that against certain matchups they're going to win. I don't think they could win against the Bengals or the Chiefs. I think both of those teams beat them. Now, against the Bills and the Pats, I do got them winning that. So I do think that they could make it to the AFC Championship game as well.
Depending on that matchups, they could definitely win that first round game, and then obviously, they're gonna have to face one of the teams they don't want to face in that conference champion. Whether or not they win that, we'll see. But I definitely think they could at least. Now, a lot of this rides on them winning next week against Houston and getting that first round bye.
Right. Wow,
Now,
that's
games to get if they gotta face someone like the Chargers, that can get hot to start off with in the first round instead of getting a bye.
Yeah.
And they don't got Henry.
That's
So
something different.
a lot of it rides on them beating Houston next week for that first round bye. Because that's all they gotta do. All they gotta do is win the game. It only matter if the Chiefs win. All they gotta do is win, and they get that first round. So definitely a lot rides on that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because I like to say that the key word for that question was how far can the Titans go? Because at this point, with or without Henry, it all depends on what their potential is. But I want to move on to another team that seems like they have all the potential in the world. But the question is, how far will they go? It isn't can, because they can go far. But will they go far? That's the real question. So the next question I want to open the floor up to is the Bills. The hometown Buffalo Bills. Always starts off strong, usually ends up slow. At least the last few years, they've gotten to the playoffs, where they usually still ended up slow. So they've been slowly improving. So this year, the division and the conference, literally after Derrick Henry went down, the Chiefs weren't playing like trash still. It was all theirs. They probably had one or two more games that was a tough matchup. The rest were supposed to be wins.
Right.
They play absolutely trash. They almost gave up the division. They actually did give up the division. Had to win it back. And right now, the question is, how far will they go now in the playoffs, man? How far can you trust them, man? So now,
go ahead. You want to go ahead?
Yeah. So right now, even if they win the division, here's the part that's crazy to me. I think if they win the division, they still unfortunately have to face the Patriots in the first round.
Yeah, it's looking it's between that and I believe if they move up to second place actually, so they wouldn't face them if they're second. If they're second, they'll place seventh.
Still got the Bengals, don't they?
They would have to face no, not the Bengals at that point. At that point, it would be somebody like either the Raiders or if the Pittsburgh gets in, either the Raiders or Pittsburgh.
So that's the thing. Tennessee's in front. If the Chiefs win and the Bills win, the Bills are still third.
But if the Chiefs could lose, Chiefs could lose to the Denver, and Bills could move up to second.
But then they still have to go past the Bengals, who are at the same record. That's what I'm saying. The Bills won't move up to second.
They're already third. The Bills are already third. The Bills are already third. Yeah, they're third right now.
The Bengals are above.
Bengals are above only because they have a win.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Bengals are third, and that's what I'm saying. The Bills are fourth. So as of right now, it's looking like they're about to play number 5, which is the Patriots.
Right. Okay.
And that's, and then basically 7 is the spot that's up for grabs between 2 or 3 teams.
Right.
That can be the Chargers, that can be the Raiders, that can be the Colts.
Pittsburgh,
Bills, Patriots, and Bengals basically already solidified their spot. Then you got the Chiefs. Then you got the Titans. There's 2 spots left, basically, and that's what they're fighting for. So at this point, the Bills are looking like they're going to play the Patriots the first round anyway. That's already already not looking too good, my boy. Like, you know me, I don't trust the Bills against the Patriots that often.
Yeah,
just the series, I'm not giving you a win in the playoffs now. Like, that's not, you're going to have to fight for that. And we all know, and I've been saying this, and I actually think there's a stat to prove it. The Bills cannot win close games. I've been saying it all year. If it's nitty gritty close games,
Yeah,
the
yeah, it's
Bills
tough
won't
for him.
win. They have
Sure.
to have a shootout for them to win. And I honestly think they have a stat that every Bills game that was decided by a score, they came out on the losing side of it. So once again, you're not going to convince me that 2 times in a month that you blow out the Patriots.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they could, especially if they're playing at the Ralph, or I mean, at whatever they call the stadium now. I'm in T-Bank Stadium,
No,
but I think it. I mean,
Patriots would be the underdog, but right off jump, I'm not convinced that you're looking too good if that's your first matchup. Let's say it's not the Patriots, it's the Colts or Chargers. Chargers probably a little harder, but you just got ran through by Jonathan Taylor. You
I
know what I'm
know.
saying? Like they're not getting a
Back
bye. Right off jump, that
anyway.
first round matchup isn't that good. It's gonna be the Bills. You can't just say they're gonna walk through anyone.
I
Okay.
agree.
Second round, you're 100% facing the Titans or the Chiefs. No, Titans or Bengals or Chiefs. All three of
Yep.
those, if those offenses, one, like I said, you're not going to convince me you beat the Titans. And Chiefs and Bengals, if they get hot, you know what I'm saying? Like, it has to be close, nitty gritty games. Or it can't be close or nitty gritty games. Like, if any one team go up, if it's not the Bills going up, they're not going to come back.
Right.
And if they blow out a team, then that's just how they're going to win. So, right now, I'm going to say the same as the Titans. How far will the Bills go? Actually, no. No. You know what? I'll give them conference championship, okay? Because they got to
Okay.
beat 2 teams to get there. I don't really like that. But the matchups might play out in their favor very good.
So you got
Depending
them
on,
winning.
at least.
Right.
Yeah, at least. But I
See,
don't
I got
even know. It all depends on Derek. It all depends on Derrick Henry,
that's
boy.
exactly where I was going with mine.
Derrick Henry, they can get to the conference championship and face the Chiefs with a decent schedule. But
Okay.
at one point, you know what I'm saying? It's like the Bengals might be some comp, and the Pats might be some comp. So you know what?
I mean,
I
yeah,
don't
they
know.
gotta go through at least.
Back and forth. I know they got to go through at least 2.
Right. So I mean, you're giving them more confidence than you were saying before. Like you were saying that they can't beat these teams, but
I don't give them to the championship. I give them to the second round.
see, I agree with you. It all depends on Derrick Henry. For me, it all depends on because
I think they win one and then lose the second.
okay. See, I got it a little different. I got a little bit more. I guess a little bit more believe in the Bills.
I believe.
But I don't know, man. I just the way that they've been looking lately, especially the last 2 games, they actually been stepping it up. And you saw that they could beat the Pats. You already saw they could beat them. I think if it's in M&T Stadium in the cold, I do think that Josh Allen plays really good in the cold. You just saw that last week. He was actually throwing the ball when Matt Ryan wasn't trying to throw it at all. He was trying to hand off the ball, and my man Josh Allen went out there and throwing the ball. Obviously getting hit out there while he was getting rushes. So I think that they definitely play good in the cold. I think that the Bills would definitely match up well if they play against the Patriots again in Buffalo. I think that could be a win. Now the next game, them playing against a team like the Titans, it all depends on Henry. If Henry's not there, I actually got the Bills winning that. I think the Bills could easily beat a Derrick Henry-less Titans team, even though they got to run by Compity and they could definitely get some yards. I still think that Derrick Henry makes a huge difference against the Bills. Now they're playing somebody like, let's say,
It
the
could
Colts.
be the Chiefs though.
If it's the Chiefs, now that's my thing. If it's the Chiefs, I think that the
Titans
Bills will
that
lose
first
that.
round bye. Whoever is in 4th or 5th faces the Chiefs in the second round.
Yeah, whoever. So if let's say four beats, 4 and 5 would play. Whoever 4 and 5 plays, they will play number 1 seed. So if the Bills happen to be 4 and 5, they would have to play Tennessee Titans. If the Titans win next week, which most likely they will.
Right.
Most likely. Let's
But
not just
other scenarios, they might not. As I'm saying, it all depends on if they don't get the Chiefs to the championship.
right. the way I'm looking at it right now is the top 4 seeds are going to win their games next week. That's what I'm looking at it. The top 4 seeds, they're gonna win their games and they're gonna stay the same. I mean, that's the way it's looking. Nobody's got a tough in the top 4 slots. Nobody's got a tough matchup.
Well, you keep forgetting about the Bengals.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't got a tough game this week.
Browns.
That's not a tough game. There's no Baker Mayfield's not playing. That's not a tough game at all.
That's why they might actually win.
No, that was my point. All 4 teams in that division in the AFC are they're gonna win their games this week. That's what I'm going by. So they're staying in the same place.
All 5 are gonna stay where they're at. Might as well throw them in the Patriots.
Right. So basically, the way that I'm going with that is whoever plays, this week, whoever wins that 4-5 matchup,
versus 5 is
will
Bills versus Patriots first week.
Right. So the winner of that will have to play Tennessee. And if there's no Derrick Henry, I definitely still got the Bills. I still think the Bills could win that, and they'll probably be an underdog playing in Tennessee. But let's say they win that game, and then that goes into the AFC Championship game. If they're facing a team like the Chiefs, I would probably have the Chiefs. But now if they're facing a team like, let's say, the Colts or come out on it, or maybe the Bengals come out hot and go up there. I think that that'll be a closer matchup. I think against the Colts it'll be tougher because the Bills are not that good with running backs. But against a team like the Bengals, I think they could keep up. I definitely think they could keep up with them. It'll be tough, but it's a closer game. So for my thing, how far can the Bills go? I think the Bills can go to the Super Bowl. Now, will they? I think they will go to the AFC Championship game this year. I think they're going to make it to the AFC somehow, some way. They're going to be able to beat the Titans without Derrick Henry.
You know what? You can't even convince me that in 2 weeks on January 16th, that in the snowy upstate New York, they beat the Patriots in a game that has to be decided by the run. Yeah. I don't even think they get past that because it will be in Buffalo. It will
that be interesting if they play to get
and it will be cold, and the game will be a running game, and it's gonna be if it got to decide by a running game, slow, gritty, grind, defensive game, Bills not winning.
I agree, but this previous week against Atlanta, the Bills played in one of the coldest environments. I mean, it was 10 degrees out there in Buffalo, and I thought it was going to be a running game, but Josh Allen went out there and threw it. And, I mean, he was running the ball, but he was throwing the ball a lot more, too.
Boy, we're liable to be in the middle of a blizzard in 2 weeks, boy.
I mean, you're not lying. You're not lying there, so you never know.
Already ain't looking too good for us.
I got a lot more confidence in the Bills team, man. I do.
I know
you never do. Never do.
I know, because what do they do every year? I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of
it. I know. They give you that hope.
Just rubber right in your face, push you in the snow, and
this is the year. Cowboys fan. This is the year for them.
And you know what? And I'm glad you said that because I actually think this is their year. Speaking of Kyle, you know what? Let's just go into the next because I already got some shit for you. So listen, the next question is gonna be, who you got? Sleeper playoff team, and I just told you my pick. It's the Dallas fucking Cowboys, and I can't wait to tell you why. So you're probably thinking Dallas Cowboys. How is that even a sleeper team? In that stacked NFC, I promise you, that's the first team that's getting written off. You got the Packers. No, besides the Bucks, and the only reason why they're getting written off because of injuries. They're getting destroyed right now with injury. So at that point, they probably the weakest team in the top 5, but that's because of injuries. If it wasn't because of injuries, you had to choose between the Packers, the Rams, the Bucks, the Cowboys, and the Cardinals. 9 times out of 10, people are like the Cowboys are the first one out. So for me, they're a sleeper. You know what I'm saying? Because in the stacked NFC, a lot of people aren't giving them a chance to go back past the first round, especially because, as I said, 4 plays 5. And in that first round right now, Cowboys are 4. And as long as Rams win, they're going to have to face the Cardinals.
They just played the Cardinals.
That's why I said there's a very, very high possibility. That's the first
Cardinals, though.
And that's going to be a tough game. So a lot of people are writing out the Cowboys right now in that going into playoffs. Everyone's like, yeah, you went 11-5, you did your thing, but who cares? A lot of people are sleeping on them. And I get it because of things that they've shown you. They have been inconsistent. But what team hasn't at this point? Literally, what team hasn't at this point?
Maybe
So
maybe the
me,
Packers have been the best in the
honestly, the
NFL.
Packers are probably the only team that really hasn't been just straight inconsistent, and their
Right.
inconsistency came from missing players,
Oh, you're
only
right.
missing.
Everyone
Everyone
else is inconsistent.
giving up games they shouldn't have given up.
Yeah.
Straight coming up throwing ducks, like everyone's just been inconsistent. So, but
Yeah,
here's
you're
my
right.
thing: with all that inconsistency, they're still one of the top teams. And here's like people really, really sleep because like let me read you this stat: fifth ranked offense in the league, first in points. And I love this because I'm gonna just go over the offense right now by itself. But let me just throw in they're also first in points and defense. They are the number one scoring offense and the number one scoring defense in the league. How's
Yeah.
that not like? Are you know what I'm saying? Like so,
That's
fifth
wild.
ranked
That's
offense,
wild.
first in points, second in plays, it's offense. First in yards, third in passing yards, fourth in pass attempts, second in completions, seventh in passing touchdowns, sixth in rushing yards, eighth in rushing attempts, second in total touchdowns, eighth in red zone attempts. And this is what I love about it because on both sides of the ball, they get their work done in the red zone. Eighth in attempts, eighth in red zone touchdowns, fifth in first downs, seventh on third downs, and eighth on interceptions, as in the eighth least amount of interceptions in the league on offense. They got the seventh best defense in the league. And we all know what the defense has been doing on your numbers they've been doing. So
Yeah.
their first points, mind you, they're also first in points on both fantasy wise when it comes to offense and defense. Just want to throw that out there because that Dallas defense definitely came in handy this year on fantasy. First in defense, first in points, first in interceptions, first in turnovers, um, 10th in pass completion, 7th in passing touchdown. This all scoring or not scoring basically. And this is what they're doing on defense. 8th in rushing attempts, 8th in rushing touchdowns, 6th in total touchdowns, 3rd in red zone attempts, 5th in
Damn.
red zone touchdown, 7th in first down conversions, 1st and 3rd down conversions. That defense been showing up all year. Now, you got Dak, top candidate for comeback player of the year.
Yep.
Doing what he's supposed to do, career highs in completions, percentage, and touchdowns. I don't think he's going to be like second best career high in yards. But that all like I'll be honest, that offense has just been so wild to see this year. Like there's just been a lot of just no one really knows what they're trying to do. But they're 11-5, so they seem to find a way to make it work. But like I said, this year they definitely seem like they're trying to pass more and not just be a heavy run first offense. So now Zeke, quiet year. Definitely quiet year, but now mind you, with that quiet year, he's still 85 yards away from 1,000-yard season.
Right.
And that's with giving Pollard 700 yards. So with a 1-2 punch of them two, yes, Zeke's supposed to be giving us more. But if you're just telling me the running game itself, they average over 100 a game. The Cowboys themselves can run the ball. Great offensive line. Both running backs are going to give you, one's going to give you 47 per game. The other one's going to give you 57 per game. That's their averages. Now, with those averages, and those are averages, sometimes they have lower, sometimes they have higher. Zeke done gave you a 69-yarder, 71-yarder, 95-yarder, 110-yarder, and 143-yard game this season alone. You're not going to tell me you don't have that potential. And now Pollard is also giving you 50, 60, 67, 71, 74, 75, and 109 in the same season. Besides the Browns right now, you're not going to tell me that's not the best 1-2 punch in football when it comes to the backfield.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
They're both doing their thing.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you got a very good receiving core in Cooper, Lamb, and Gallup, and the implementation of Schultz late on in the season. Like, my man's got
Gallup's out for the year.
750.
Gallup's injured out for the year. Gallup, he's out for the year. Injury.
Yes, you're right. So now, mind you, he was a third receiver, giving you like probably 400. So Yeah, they will miss him. I'll tell you that much. But having Schultz step up throughout that same year, giving you
Yeah.
almost 800 down that middle, and obviously CD Lamb at number two, is obviously so Cooper's getting more tougher assignments, so he gave you almost 800. But CD Lamb getting that second receiver slot gave you over 1,000 this year.
Yeah.
He
Playing
gave you
amazing.
1,007 exactly. He's looking real good this year. So now that's just that fifth rank offense. I just told you literally what they bring to the table. Yes, they're a little inconsistent, but potential wise, that's an amazing offense. Now, mind you, both for the offense and defense, we just talked about it, very well coached.
Yeah.
Yes, I have some damn timeout problems, but
No.
they're very well coached, and
They
they
are.
found a way to get 11 wins this year. So offense looking very good. At the end of the day, you're not gonna write them boys off. They can, like I said, Zeke can go out there and give you a game. Dak can go out there and give you a game. They got receivers. They got running backs. That's impressive to me.
It's definitely impressive.
Impressive is the defense.
Oh yeah.
The defense. Now you know I'm about to talk about that. So listen, their safety here is top 40 in just total tackles. Him and Micah Parsons, the rookie, that they've been playing at a sort of hybrid linebacker line position. They're
So,
both in top 40 in solo tackles. Micah is sixth in sacks
6 in sacks as a rookie.
as a rookie, second in sack yards. He got 120 yards off of sacks this year.
Mm-hmm.
Only one person got more than him. Second in tackles for loss.
Yep.
That's the line. Michael playing amazing, clear candidate for rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Now you got the secondary. Though I gotta tell you about your man Diggs. I even gotta mention Trayvon. Second in the pass deflections, with Anthony Brown, his running mate, fifth in pass deflections, with another guy named Lewis. All three of them, obviously, Stephon is number one in interceptions. The other two got like 2 or 3 each, which don't seem like a lot, but that's top 20. I mean, 2 or 3 interceptions for one person is a great year, truthfully. 11 is amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Deion Sanders.
so you literally got a defense that can tackle, stop you from going down the field, create havoc, create deflections, get picks, and when you're in that red zone, you're not getting much. Same with the offense. They got players, they got people. When they get in that red zone, they execute. Cowboys are a sleeper team right now. Whoever they face, whether it's the Rams or the Cardinals in that first round, is about to be a game. And I don't write them off. If they get hot and get past that first round, it could easily wipe away. It might be Bucks versus Eagles or something like that. They could easily wipe away the winner of that. You know what I mean? So, like, I think their first game is going to be their very toughest test. But don't sleep on the Cowboys. And if they get to the NFC Championship, I promise you, Rams, Packers, and Cowboys. Oh man, it's scary to even think about those matchups because we talk about some good teams, but don't write off them boys. I gotta sleep. My sleeper team is the Cowboys. I know I gave y'all a lot, but there's a reason. Like when it comes to stuff like this, I like to back my stats up. Like they got the number one scoring, like fifth ranked offense, seventh ranked defense. They come on both sides of the ball. They're very well coached. They execute. And I think a lot of people are writing them off just because you clearly got very, very talented teams on that side of the conference. So right now they're being stepped on, but they're heavy hitters and they're gonna come out swinging. And I can't wait.
I definitely agree with you. Like a lot of the points you made are amazing, especially in the offense and defensive stats they have are incredible this year. I mean, I definitely would like to see a little bit more from their pass defense as far as not allowing as many penalties because we talked about that earlier. They do allow a lot of penalties. I think they're a third most penalized team all season. And the one thing that worries me though is and I'll tell you where I'm going with my sleeper team. But real quick, the one thing. Arizona, and if it's not Arizona, let's say it's I don't know. Can we say somebody like the Rams? I don't know, in the first round maybe, or
It's
Could they
pretty
play
much the only way it's not Arizona is if Arizona moves up to second where the Rams are. And I think
right?
that's what
So
the
that'd
Rams
be
play where Arizona is. So you're facing the
so it
Rams
would either
in those first round.
I'm going by the NFC. I'm going to each team in the first four slots are going to win. That's the way I'm going with it. The final game at least. So the way that I have to look at the playoff scenarios are, it would have to be the Cowboys versus Arizona, and they just got beat by Arizona. But then again, even if it's the Cowboys against the Rams beat them this year too. So you're going against two teams that you're going to have to beat that beat you this year. Which I'm not saying it can't be done, because obviously it happens all the time in the NFL, and it can be done. And you put on some great points on why they're really good.
They're written off, but no one expects them to get past that first round because of that matchup.
Their potential is definitely there. Their potential is definitely up there. For me, it just goes on matchups. And the NFC is so much tougher than the AFC. The NFC has at least four good teams that can easily make it to the Super Bowl. For me, it's obviously Green Bay, Tampa Bay, the Rams, and Cowboys. Those are the teams that I see could possibly go. But obviously, three of those four teams, it could be any one of those teams that the Cowboys has to play, and it's not as easy for them as it would be for a team in the AFC, who I got as my sleeper in the Bengals. See, the Bengals, I mean, you see them, they're getting hot in the right time. Obviously, right now they just beat a team like the Chiefs, who a lot of people obviously had in the beginning of the season as a Super Bowl contender. I mean, obviously they didn't look like it, but they were on an 8-game winning streak, and they just broke that winning streak. The Bengals broke the Chiefs winning streak. And you see that they can get hot at any moment, and they can the one thing that really moves in playoffs is running game and defense, and they have both of those things. They have a great running back and Joe Mixon, and they have a great defense. They have a top 6 defense in the NFL right now, which is why it's definitely keeping them in some of these games. I know against Kansas City, they're pretty potent offense themselves, so it's tough to really see that. But um, the Bengals defense is nothing to joke about, and their offense is nothing to joke about either. I mean, if you just see that the way that my man Jamar Chase played, and that's not the first time he's done that. Like, he sat a 160-yard game earlier this year as well. So, and he's only a rookie. I mean, he's going to get better and better as the games go on. And let's say, I mean, if you look at scenarios on the other side in the AFC, that's where my thinking goes. Is that's why I got him as a sleeper, because the matchups in the AFC could be a lot easier than the NFC. The Bengals, they could play somebody like the Bills. So, I mean, even you stated that you don't trust the Bills. I mean, if that would be a good matchup for me. I do see that as a very tough matchup, but I don't see why, if the Bengals offense doesn't get hot. I mean, obviously that's looking at a second round matchup, because the
I would
first
say
round
Colts, Chargers, or Raiders. They're
it
definitely
would have to
winning.
be Colts, or most likely Chargers. I think they were looking at a Chargers Bengals first round would be tough, because I do think both of those guys are offensive minded, explosive offenses, but the defense is a little bit better on the Bengals side. So I do think that the Bengals could take that matchup, especially against uh, Justin Herbert, and you know they're losing guys right now. Keenan Allen just went out, and he might not come back for the playoffs. They said
Very suspect on the Chargers.
exactly. So I mean, now then you got to look at the next week, and we were just talking about it, possibly the Bills or somebody like us. I mean,
Patriots.
yeah, the Patriots would. Yeah, if let's say the Patriots win it, yeah. So it would have to be one of those. And honestly, I still got the Bengals in that scenario. I could see Bengals beating either one of those teams.
As long as they come swinging and get to a good start, easily.
And then finally, I mean, if they get to the AFC Championship game, if they play somebody like Kansas City, I mean, you just saw them play Kansas City, and you saw what they did. I mean, yeah, it was a tough game for them. Like, yeah, Kansas City did have a chance, to not leave as much clock on the field, and to take it to overtime, but they didn't do it. And obviously, obviously Cincinnati did what they needed to do to win that game, even if it was a field goal. And so you can see that they can win the big games, especially against those top tier teams. The reason why I'm calling them a sleeper is, yeah, they've been kind of like under the radar the last like 4 or 5 weeks. The beginning of the season, everyone was kind of looking at them. They went up hot. Obviously, they were like 5-0 beginning of the season, and then they kind of slowed down a bit, and now they're like up and down, up and down. But the last few weeks, I'm seeing a lot better from them, and especially their defense and their running game. And like I said, those two things that travels in the playoffs, and I could definitely see them just for matchup wise being a sleeper team as a team that can easily make it in the Super Bowl as a sleeper. For the Cowboys, I agree with all your points. It's just that their matchups are a lot harder to get
I
through.
know, and if their matchups weren't hard, they wouldn't be a sleeper team.
Right.
So, unfortunately, their matchups is what make them a sleeper team because no one got them going past the first round.
Right. That's true, though.
And at this point, everyone knows that they're good, but no one got them going past the first round because they got to face the Rams or the Cardinals. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Because if they win that, I promise you, if they win that first game, shit, I'm gonna sit here and scream the boys are going to the bowl until they don't. Like if they win that first game, that's when I'm back into the Super Bowl. Simple as that. If they beat the Cardinals and then come out, you know what I'm saying, like that. Because that's the thing for me. The worst that they could face the second round is Bucks versus Eagles.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's Bucks for sure. And I mean, obviously anything can happen, but I think that's Bucks.
Anything can happen, and like I said, Bucks are dropping like flies. I mean, people might not think Antonio Brown was a loss, but that was a loss.
It's a huge loss, and obviously, especially because they lost
Godwin. Yeah, like Evans not even 100%. You know what I'm saying? Like they dropping people. Fournette's out. People on defense are dropping. Like that's what I'm saying. Like they're the one team that's probably the most written off right now, and it's rightfully so because of injury.
Like that's rightfully so. You're right.
Playoffs, people just drop, so they keep. At this point, if they don't make it past the first round, no one's even gonna be mad at them because what do you expect? You know.
Right.
But at this point, it's the Cowboys that has a lot of potential, but everyone's just not giving them past the first round. So for you though, Titans obviously they're gonna get a good chance to go to the second round because of that first round bye. Obviously, Chiefs, Bills, and Patriots are established. And Bengals are definitely that sleeper in the top 5. So 100%, I agree with you. They got a very, very volatile offense, so it can 100% blow up in anyone's face, and they can walk away with a win or two. So yeah, I definitely see them as a sleeper team in the East, and I see the Cowboys or not the East, in the AFC, and I see the Cowboys as a sleeper team in the NFC for sure.
Yeah, definitely that.
Yeah. So literally love the conversations we had today. Like we just spent a lot of time talking about a lot of good topics, and I just want to obviously end the episode like we usually do with just a few minutes of just previewing obviously a couple high quality matchups for the last week of the season. First one I want to go over, and we already kind of talked about it. Well, actually, it's supposed to be a good game, but it might not be. It's Eagles versus Cowboys. At this point, they're both clinched in the playoffs.
Right.
Cowboys can clinch their division because they're 2 games ahead of the Eagles. So we very might likely see both teams playing the backups. It's crazy because Cowboys honestly can't go any higher in the standings. They can drop though.
Yeah.
But that'll be them still honestly playing the same team.
Yep. But just I still think they want to win, but they would drop from 3rd to 4th, I think, right? That's the only thing that can happen. 4th to 5th.
Yeah, because if Bucks are at 12-4, they're at 11-5. So if they lose, they're dropped to 5th. Because at 6 will be 9-7. Whoever's at 6, 9-7 or 10-7. So basically, with 11 wins, they'll stay in top 5. But I'd say the only thing that changes is who's home for that matchup. So it gotta be their home or Cardinals home.
Got you.
Yeah. So either way, both them and the Eagles, like I said, will stay in the playoffs.
They can't drop to 5th because they already won their division, so they got to be top 4. They won their division, Cowboys.
So then you're right.
So they can't do 5th then.
So yeah, you're right. They can't drop. So I think both teams play the backups because at this point, Eagles don't care about their placing because really they got to face either the Rams or the Bucks. So honestly, actually, I think the Eagles should keep their starters in and try to force that 7th to face the Bucks. So
That's what I
actually,
was
now that I
thinking
think
too.
about
That's
it, they
yeah.
actually might want to
They
take this
might
game more serious, but
like this
they
is there's
might not.
nothing for the Cowboys.
They might also think like, fuck it, we're in the playoffs regardless. Let's just rest our starters because our quarterback almost got injured by fat ass fans in the stands.
Oh, that.
No, if he was standing 2 feet to the left, that was his career. Like that shit blew my mind to see that. I'm like, yo, he really could have almost got severely injured right there, and it's over. So that might have scared them into like, y'all all sit your asses down this next week. We just want to get to the playoffs. So at this point, no one knows what to expect. We're probably going to get teams not giving out their real death order to throw the other team off. You already know how they're going to do.
Yeah.
So at this point, I don't even know what to expect in this game, but I suspect both teams might start their starters. Cowboys definitely. Eagles might try to play for serious and try to force that first round matchup with the Bucks. But other than that, it's not going to be a great game. Like Cowboys definitely have the Eagles number. I suspect even with the offense playing, that they still have a good defensive scheme to keep the Eagles in check. So, and I think Pollard. I don't know if they set him 100% since he's technically the backup. I know they aren't going to set him a lot though.
Yeah, they were talking about it. Yep.
Because when they blew out the fucking Washington team and they took out the starters, Pollard didn't come in. Like when they took out Zeke and Dak, they took out Pollard. So he might not even play either. So I don't even know what to see from that Cowboys team. It's crazy because both teams are in the playoffs. So I kind of thought this was going to be a good matchup, but as we got closer to it, it just seems like both teams kind of it is what it is. They're just trying to get to the playoffs and make it to the next week. So I got this a 31-24 win for the Cowboys. I think that the Cowboys offense, come on, you still got a good offensive line. Even like I feel like they're just overall set as a better team, and obviously they're better coached when it comes down to it. So you got offensive scheme, you got offensive game plan, and that's just it. They're going to come away with a win for the second time against their division rivals for this year.
See, I disagree. I think that man, because like you said, the Cowboys have nothing to play for. They're gonna stay in this seat, so I don't think they're gonna play their starters at all. There's no reason to. I think Dak is not gonna play, and I don't think that Pollard is gonna play. I do think they probably are gonna play Ezekiel Elliott probably for the first half, and maybe not let him play the second half, but he does need to at least come back a little bit. To play. I just think that the Eagles have a little bit to play for. Just like you said, I think they want to play a team like a team like Tampa Bay instead of a team like the Rams, just because of obviously all the injuries that Tampa Bay has had, and matchup wise, it'll be easier for the Eagles. So that's why I got this game a little bit different. I don't think that the Cowboys can move anywhere, and I just think for that reason they're gonna rest their guys, and the Eagles are gonna be playing for something, so they're not gonna be resting their guys, and it might help out a guy like Jalen Hurts, to get more reps in, because I don't think it ever hurts to get more reps in.
I think they will benefit from playing their people.
I mean, I don't know how many of the defensive guys the Cowboys are gonna keep on the field, so we'll see. So for me, if they rest some of the defensive guys, then I got this is a higher scoring game, 31-24, actually, just like you. But the Eagles won it just because they need to actually have a better matchup. Yeah, same
That's
score, but
wild.
opposite.
Yeah, no. We don't know
think
what
they can score some points for them. Cooper Rush could score some points for the Cowboys.
No, definitely it's gonna be a decent game, but it's not gonna be the star-studded game that we would expect. So that's why it's tough to really choose. But I think either way, I just think overall the Cowboys organization is still better than the Eagles, just overall, top to bottom. So I think they can offer more to the table. But either way, definitely a good game. Both teams are already in the playoffs. They do have a slim chance of facing each other in the playoffs. Probably not though, because it won't be the first round. But we'll see.
Arizona has to lose, and I think something else has to happen. Or no,
Arizona and
I think
either
Arizona
Bucks would have to lose.
Yeah, Bucks has to lose. I think. Yeah.
Whoever Eagles play and whoever Cowboys play will have to lose, and even then, the only way they got a chance of facing each other is in the conference championship, and that ain't happening. That is not happening, especially not for the Eagles. But here's another two teams that might not have before, so let's talk about it. Next game I want to go over is obviously two teams in the same conference trying to. Well, one team actually is in the playoffs, the other team actually has to win to get a chance to go in, and that's 49ers versus Rams. And we already touched base a little bit on these teams and what's going on with some of the situations they're having. I personally, like I said, Jimmy G might start. As much as we all think they're gonna move on from Jimmy G, their best chance of winning this game against the Rams is Jimmy if they want to be serious. Like obviously if he's injured, then no. But if you're telling me a healthy Jimmy G or 95, 90% Jimmy G against a healthy Trey Lance, like I said, right now, like, I don't give a damn about potential. We need one game to win again to the playoffs. I'm gonna pick our starting quarterback who's been our starting quarterback all year. You know
Even
what I
if
mean?
he's only percent and not 100.
If he's 90, I'll take it.
Wow.
It depends on what you know what I'm saying. Like if it's something where you're not as mobile but you still can throw, I'll take it.
Yeah.
If two of your fingers can't move and your throwing's all messed up and you can't push the ball far, then you know. But that's what I'm saying. It all depends. But like if he's 90 and he can give you what he can give you, I'll take it. As weird as it sounds, yes, 49ers 100% need this win to even get to the playoffs. Rams still need this one more. They're 100% in the playoffs, but I don't think they're in liberty to rest their starters. They need to get something going because they're coming out flat very bad recently, and they can't bring that energy going into the playoff. I think this is not only a statement game to the rest of the division that they won the division. I think they need to prove something to themselves that they're going to go into the playoffs with something to offer. Like they almost just didn't lose to a Tyler Huntley led Ravens. Like you know what I mean? Like they need to go out there and show some stuff. So I definitely, like I said, expect this to be a tough game. Low scoring, 27-21, but I do have the Rams walking away with this. I think obviously they're a better team overall. I think that the Rams or the 49ers have a better chance at winning, honestly, with Jimmy at helm. Like 27-21 might be 31-21 if Trey Lance is at the helm. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
To me, I'm going off to the impression that I really think that as much as Kyle might have been talking his mouth, running his mouth talking his shit, I still think that if Jimmy's anywhere near over 85, 90%, he's starting. Because that's honestly as much as that's literally you're not going to convince me that's not their best chance. You're not going to convince me that if he's over 85, 90% that he's not better than Trey Lance. And he is, in my opinion. So yeah, I definitely got it. I'll give it 27-21 just because I'll take those more points away just because I don't know if Jimmy's starting that. And it's honestly looking like Lance is starting. But either way, I don't think the 49ers can win this game. I think they lose and pretty much I don't know, man. Saints are facing the Falcons. If they lose
Yeah.
and the Saints win, they both got the same record of 9-8.
Right. It would.
I don't know who wins. I don't even know who gets that last spot
I
because
think. Yeah.
the Cowboys win, and that also makes the Eagles 9-8. And even though they'll stay at 6 technically, that's the thing though. The 49ers could win,
If
even
they
though
win,
even though the Eagles are in the playoff, they're technically not. They're not 6th place.
right, they can move to 7th. The
They can
Eagles.
move 7 because they are
Right.
technically in 7th. Like right now, 49ers are in 6th place, but if they lose, they're out.
Right.
So like the Eagles could still end up in last place. So it
But
basically all depends. So I think
they
it becomes
they would
between
move up to.
49ers versus Saints on who get that last spot because Eagles are automatically already in.
Right. Eagles are automatically in. If they win, they would move up to that 6th spot, and then whoever would, if let's say New Orleans won, then they would take that 7th spot. If New Orleans lost and Minnesota won their game, then Minnesota would take that 7th spot. There's only other teams that can get in there, in the NFC for sure.
I don't even
Uh,
think Minnesota's even in that picture anymore, bro.
what is it, Minnesota? They're still in
It's
it.
just 49ers and Saints.
I think Minnesota's still in there. Minnesota still has a chance. I think they got to play Green Bay, don't they? Isn't that who they got to play next? I think that was the scenarios that both of the 6th and 7th seed have to lose. I'm sorry, the 7th and New Orleans have to lose for them to make it. That's the only way. But for the 49ers and the Rams, we talked about it a little bit. Like we definitely talked about Trey Lance, and we talked about the Rams a lot. Was that
they're
out?
They're out.
They're out. Really? Wow.
That last week was them forcing them out. Yeah.
Oh.
So it's literally that last spot. The placing might be not settled yet between those last two spots. But it's only the Saints and the 49ers to get that last spot in the playoff.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have the 49ers winning this game, but as I thought about it more, I mean, it might matter a bit depending on the games before that. Like, I mean, the Cowboys are going to be playing before the Rams, I think, and so is Green Bay. So it might matter on what happens to those games if the Rams even play any of their starters.
Yeah, the Saints, the Falcons, that's a lot of pressure on the 49ers.
So honestly, I do have it like you. I do think that they should start their starters. The Rams need to. We need to get a little bit more offensive, especially like chemistry with our guys. It just needs to happen. We haven't had it the last few weeks, and we need it. But for me, I mean, I just have the Rams as the better defensive team. I have the Rams as the better offensive scheming team. I know Deebo Samuel's out there and Kittle's out there, but I mean, Trey Lance, he's throwing about 200, 250 yards a game, so you can't really trust him to come back from a deficit. And I do think the Rams could score points. I mean, we're one of the top scoring teams in the league right now. I think we're top 5 in scoring, so we definitely have the weapons to score. We definitely lost somebody in Robert Woods, but like I said, we need my man Beckham to step it up more. I think he should step it up this game, and if he plays, he should step it up. And for that reason, I do got the Rams winning. Only if let's say the Green Bay wins and Cowboys win and New Orleans loses, then I do think that the Rams would rest their starters because either way, even if 49ers win or lose, they still make the playoffs.
Right.
So for that reason, I could see a scenario where the Rams rest their starters, but most likely I don't think they're gonna because I think they need this momentum. We need it right now. I think we need to get a little bit of offensive momentum to at least take into the playoffs because that's what we're gonna need. And I got this game actually a little bit on the lower side, I guess, 27-24. I got the Rams winning this in a close game. It's a division matchup, so either way, I would have had it close.
It's funny because there's a good chance that once again, like I said, that these two teams play each other in the first round. It all depends on what the Eagles do. But like I said, if the Eagles lose and the Rams lose, that might be exactly where they at. So that might be Rams versus Eagles. So it all depends. There's still some possibilities, but there is a possibility that 49ers and Rams play each other again the next week. Right. And honestly, that possibility is a lot higher if the Rams lose. So if they lose, they pretty much decide their own fate, forcing them to play the Niners again the next week. And that will be rough for you.
Plus, if we lose home field advantage in the playoffs.
And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of playing. There's a lot that can go on that last week. But either way, that's going to be a tough game. And to me, there was only one more game with more absolute nerve-wracking playoff contention. And that's the last game we're going to talk about. And that's basically, so we got the top 5 in the AFC already set. The last 2 spots basically is being fought for by 5 teams.
Yep.
Colts and Chargers are the 2 teams who got those spots. On the bubble, trying to get those 2 spots are the Raiders, Steelers, and Ravens. I'll be honest.
Possibility.
You might as well write off Steelers and Ravens.
Yeah, the Ravens have a very, very slim possibility. It's not going to happen. It doesn't look like.
And the Steelers are ahead. So even if the Ravens win, it has so many things have to happen for them to win. Same with the Steelers because you already got the Colts, the Chargers, and the Raiders ahead of them. So basically, you got Colts, Chargers, Raiders. Colts are in 6, more than likely going to win because they're facing the Jaguars. So more than likely, they're going to keep 6. So you got the last playoff spot, the 7th playoff spot. The Colts and the Chargers have to fight for the last spot.
Mm-hmm.
If it just so happens they're playing each other on the last week of the season. Absolutely magical. Like it couldn't have planned any more perfect. Both 9-7, last seed in the playoffs up for grabs. Chargers versus Raiders, and they're actually playing each other for it.
Yep.
Clear as day, this is going to be a game that's going to come down to quarterback play. Derek Carr versus Herbert. Now, in my opinion, both inconsistent. Both have been subpar at certain points. One has actually shown more potential, and that's the Chargers. Chargers at one point were very explosive, looking real good beginning of the season. Raiders have been up and down, hit or miss, can barely win 2 games in a row, have no identity. Chargers are more explosive on offense, but a lot more liable on defense, if you want to be honest. It's just honestly going to come out to how both of those quarterbacks come playing. How I think it will come out is I think that Herbert will come out slinging. Carr and that Raiders offense is a little bit too passive. You really haven't been able to count on them when the moment counts. They got 9-7 record, barely over 500, but it hasn't looked pretty good all season. So I'll be honest. I personally got a 31-23 win for the Chargers to keep the 7th spot. I think that Herbert's going to go out and throw 350 plus 3 touchdowns. They're going to get a good, decent game going on the run. And obviously, I think that they find a way to just I don't want to say make the Raiders look like they're going to come out slow, because the Raiders make themselves look like they come out slow. But I think as much as the Raiders have been rising in the standings and kind of trying to be a little hot and trying to get a good little run, I don't think their run is completed. I think that they run stops next week, and I think the Chargers solidify their standing in the playoffs to pretty much go get scraped by the Chiefs. So
I don't know, man. I don't know. They're a hot offense, though.
That's gonna be 2 hot offenses versus each other, so that'll be a good matchup. But yeah, I don't think the Raiders has the juice to walk away with that win, man. They're just like they coming away with some good wins here and there, but like there are a lot of things to worry about that team on both sides of the ball, man. And right now the Chargers are the same way. They got more to offer on at least offense. So I'll go with the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good pick. But let me run by a scenario by you because I read this amazing article. I thought it was an incredible scenario, which is not going to happen, but it's always good to dream about the NFL. So there's this scenario where both the Chargers and the Raiders could make it in the playoffs. And you want to know how this happens? And this is what I read down the article, and this is so true. So the way that this happens,
beat the Colts.
So the Jaguars will have to beat the Colts, and not only that, you know what would have to happen in the Chargers and Raiders game?
A tie.
They would have to tie, and the article was stating that, let's say, because obviously the Jaguars and Colts play earlier in the game, so let's say they already know that the Jaguars won. What they could do is each team could take 15 kneel downs, and they could finish the game like that, and they could both tie and both just make the playoffs. Tell me they wouldn't want to do that as an NFL team. Would you take the kneel down to try to get a tie to make a playoffs?
Nah, you're try to win.
I agree with you. It's
fun pretty wild.
That's a wild theory that I saw, and it's incredible. I know it's crazy if like let's say they do tie, but obviously it's not going to happen. But it's just funny to hear how it could happen, that both of these teams could make it in somehow. For me, I got this game similar to you. I think that both of these teams have been a little inconsistent. I just think that the more inconsistent team has been the Raiders, like you said. Derek Carr for sure. I mean, they lost like two of their top receivers, Henry Ruggs, and obviously they lost their coach as well. Jacobs has been playing better the last few games. What I like to see from them, but honestly, I think that a team like the Chargers, they need their offense to step up. Herbert's been needing to step up. They lost Keenan Allen for a few weeks. Now they're getting them back finally. They got Mike Williams out there. They still got Austin Eckler as a decent running back. So I definitely think that they're a good offensive team. They got Derwin James, who's got like 11 or 12 sacks now in the season. He's a top like 5 sack leader. So I definitely think that their defense is good in spots. I think that game is definitely going to be predicated on the offense though. But for me, it's not going to be the quarterbacks like you said. It's going to be more on the running backs. I want to see like what Jacobs does compared to what Eckler does. I think this is going to be a big game for Austin Eckler. He always plays good against the Raiders. He's played good against them the last two or 3 years. He's always had over like 90 yards each time. So I think that he's going to play good this game as well. And for that reason, I think that this is going to be a running backs game. And I think each running back is going to get close to like at least 120, 140 yards. And I think that what's going to happen is that Chargers are going to come out hot early. Raiders are going to have to come from behind. And then obviously Austin Eckler is going to take over and they're going to win the game pretty handily for me. Honestly, I actually got this one 34-21. I got this as a 2-score game.
No, I could definitely see that. Like I said, Raiders made a decent push, but not many people besides Raider fans probably think that they're going to make it next week. So,
I mean, I'm be honest. Everyone was writing him off. Like after John Gruden left, obviously everyone was writing them off. Nobody thought they were going to win a game after that. But you got to give them a lot of credit for even doing what they're doing to keep themselves in the conversation.
Yeah, but even then they were inconsistent. Like I remember they came out 1-2 games after John Gruden. I'm like, hey, they're actually looking good, and then they went out and probably lost 3. Like, you know what I mean?
That's
like
true. They were inconsistent with John Gruden.
And no, and that's what it was. They basically struggle on not knowing what to do with the ball. Derek Carr, I don't understand what type of quarterback that man is. I don't understand. Right? I don't know what he thinks his job is. I'm confused because he's stuck
between Alex Smith and an Eli Manning. That's where he's stuck between. Like literally.
Not good enough to be a game manager, but you don't offer any other skill set. It's so weird because you're not good enough to do what you're supposed to do, but you can't do nothing else. It's such a weird combination of skills that he has. And he is a starting quarterback skill-wise. Like he is, I get it, but like
he's good enough to be one of the 32 best.
Hey, maybe he's the type of person that can benefit from being on a Browns team or even a Steelers team that is run heavy with a good defense. You know what I'm saying? Like what they're trying to do with there's no consistency on offense. They tried to force him into a pass-first offense this year with Gruden, I believe, when you basically had a team set up to be a run team. Like it's just like there's no one knows what's doing over there. So unfortunately, that's going to come to bite them in the head this week. And at the end of the day, yeah, I get they got playoff contention. A lot of teams got playoff contention. So I don't know if they're going in the right direction or the wrong direction, but definitely Jonathan Jacobs was supposed to be that man. They're supposed to lean heavy on that run. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they come next year. I want to
make some changes. They need a new coach. They're going to need a new wide receiver, number 1 wide receiver as well. So we'll see what happens with them for sure. I mean, it's tough for them. But for me, like I said, this game, I'm hoping for that Jaguars win and that tie. I'm looking for that tie.
So that's wild. I don't think that would happen. It's crazy because they would still basically be tied for second in the West. So that's why they would basically
they will both be tied. Crazy. Oh man, but some wild things are definitely going to be going on in the next few weeks in the NFL, and it's going to be crazy to watch. I'm definitely excited about it for sure.
This was the most exciting episode we've done so far, obviously in NFL because of all the stuff we got coming on the corner. And obviously, I can't wait till playoffs, man. I'll be honest, playoff fantasy football is over, so we can actually enjoy football for football. So there's that.
You
And like I
focus on
said,
players, not focusing on the team.
exactly. Perfect timing
Right.
so we can actually enjoy the playoffs and love good competition. So I'm definitely ecstatic about the next week, and I'm even more ecstatic about the week after that because we got NFL playoffs, baby, and we're this much closer to getting a 2022 Super Bowl champion, and I can't wait.
Oh yeah. So we really appreciate you guys listening in on this episode. We've enjoyed you guys being with us here. And if you guys want to watch the full episode, check us out on YouTube or on Facebook. If you want to listen to us, please check out the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you guys want to ask us a question, please go ahead.
Of course, you know us. We love the fan interaction. We try to get our social media content to everyone so you can get an in-depth, up close, personal take on what we're doing, what we're dropping our episodes, the topics we're talking about. We're doing this for you guys, so we definitely love and appreciate all the support, man.
That's right. So again, happy New Year to everyone and a good 2022 to everyone. Hopefully we have a great 2022 as well. And this was a great episode, and we will come back with you with another episode of Who You Got with
Melo,
and Rado. We'll see you guys next time.
peace.
Peace.